WBF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome to a Buffalo Victory Football Monday.
I think this is the game that the Bills defense needed to have going into a game that they're going to have against the Dolphins.
Mike Danger.
I think they call that complementary football, right? The defense takes care of the offense takes care of the defense. Defense does their job.
My man, Terrell Bernard, linebacker, Baylor.
Gene Battaglia.
So next up, it's the Miami Dolphins.
You're playing for first place.
It was a record-setting day for the Dolphins. 70 points.
Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
You know what? I've met her before. Might set him up.
Usher will be headlining the Super Bowl halftime show.
Buy or sell, it should have been Taylor Swift.
Bye.
Tonight, the Bucs host the Eagles, 7:15 Eastern. The Bengals and Rams in Cincy at 8:15.
I hate having two games.
A wild week in around football, both college and the pros.
We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world.
Here come the Buffalo Sabres!
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Hey, good afternoon. Pull up a stool. Join us here in the Sports Bar. We're glad you're with us, however you may be listening. 95.7 FM, AM 950. The Fan Rochester sounds its best in the free-to-download Odyssey app or on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. And we've got our video stream up for you as well, The Fan Rochester, on YouTube and Twitch. On My Danger, that's Gene Battaglia.
How you doing today, buddy?
What a weekend. What a weekend. Just an unbelievable action-packed weekend, start to finish. And really, it started when we left here Friday evening to go and have the privilege of calling East High at Canandaigua in the chosen spot, in a beautiful facility on a gorgeous Friday night, a great Class A football game between two schools that you know, frankly, just don't like each other. And the rivalry was there. It was on display. It was a great game, come-from-behind game where Canandaigua fought back and clawed their way back into the game only to have their hearts ripped out at the end by East. And that set the tone, man. After that, I'm like, this weekend is going to be spectacular, and it was. We had nothing but action all day Saturday, college football, and of course yesterday, some upsets in the NFL. The Bills doing what they needed to do. Their opponent on Sunday, in the Dolphins dropping 70. We've got a lot to get to, a lot to discuss from this last weekend, a lot to look ahead to this week.
All right, so what are the rules here? Because we can talk about yesterday. Are we starting to talk about the Miami Dolphins today, Danger? Do we push that off?
We're absolutely talking about Miami today.
Yeah.
I think that Miami and Buffalo will be the story all week based on what the Bills defense did to Washington and what the Miami offense did to Denver. Just remarkable. Both units with massive achievements. I mean, the Bills defense the last two games looks different than it's ever looked with Sean McDermott as a head coach, and now Sean McDermott calling the plays. You know, that defensive line has been menacing the last 2 weeks.
It has been menacing. We'll talk about Bernard, the secondary. I mean, what more could you ask for? You're taking the ball away. It's interesting that the Bills and the Dolphins also have the same objection, meaning, well, yeah, the Bills defense did this against Sam Howell, who looked like a poor man's Drew Bledsoe to me, meaning he stands in there and I'm going to take the punishment and like, what do I do with the football? I don't see it. Like, he couldn't process what he was looking at. So Washington's not a good offense. I think we kind of also learned that coming off the heels of the Raiders not being a good offense. And look, Miami put up 70
on a team that quit.
They quit.
Yeah, on a team that quit.
No doubt. Anybody that look, Miami's going to score points against Buffalo. They're going to score points against a lot of teams. You can't tell me that Denver just didn't lay down. That was pathetic. Somebody should be fired in Denver today.
When Sean Payton reacts the way he reacted at the end of that game, his post-game press conferences, as testy as he was. Yeah, he's testy because he knows his team quit on him, on their fans. It's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. No way in the NFL should you be dropping 70 points unless a team is lying down. And, hey, look, I know Miami in September is hot and muggy and hard to play in, but my God, they absolutely laid down for Miami. So we'll be talking plenty about Sunday's matchup in Orchard Park. Oh, by the way, Trey White listens to the Sports Bar. I want to welcome Trey.
Hey.
Appreciate Trey listening.
Hi, Trey.
He heard everything we were saying about him last week and all the questions we had about his performance last week. And Trey White yesterday, fantastic, getting an interception. We kind of were hoping that he was going to get off the schneid, get a big play to kind of build that confidence. And yeah, against Sam Howell, he was targeted 6 times. He allowed 3 receptions for 19 total yards in that pick. So Trey White had himself a nice Sunday afternoon. We appreciate him listening to the Sports Bar.
How is it that there was somebody sitting in for anybody to sign in the month of June? Leonard Floyd, 3.5 sacks for the Buffalo Bills. Where would the Bills be today without Leonard Floyd? Well, their defensive line is still pretty good, but that's a massive pickup for this team.
And let's just get it out of the way, because as soon as it happened yesterday, I was getting blown up. How many times did they sack Sam Howell?
9 times.
I was going to say somewhere between 8 and 10.
9 times. 9 times.
I told everybody I would work this into submission.
9 times.
Yes, 9 times they got to Howell. A couple of sacks for Floyd, as you mentioned. 3 hurries for the game. I mean, Leonard Floyd. When you get Von Miller back, assuming everybody stays healthy, the rotation is going to be immaculate. I mean, everybody's contributing. Even A.J. Epineza gets in on the action with the pick 6. I mean, just a great day for the Bills defense, albeit, as you mentioned, against potentially a bad Washington offense. But it's a Washington offense that, with Eric Bieniemy calling the plays, there's something there. If your quarterback is young and inexperienced, you're going to hold on to the ball too long. And that was Sam Howell's day yesterday.
Yeah, and Washington didn't move the ball at the beginning, and then they get stopped on a goal line stand, and that was the closest. Now, shame on Washington, by the way, for, wow, that field goal. Ooh, you didn't get shut out. Yeah, and your quarterback took a few unnecessary hits on that last drive.
I don't care. Look, shame on Washington. I don't really care. Whatever. Do what you got to do to tell yourself that it was okay. Like, that game was a blowout. It wasn't as embarrassing as what Denver did, because you could tell Washington was still playing for something even at the end. With the Bills, you give Kyle Allen some reps at the end. You give some of your second teamers a chance to get on the field, and all is good. It's a good day for the Buffalo Bills as they now look ahead to the opportunity to snatch first place in the AFC East away from the Miami Dolphins.
It's the game of the week in the NFL coming up. The team that put up 70 against the team that has had this division in their hands the last few years. It's the team in Miami that, yes, they won the first battle, but then they lost the next 2, including the one that counted the most. Oh, by the way, they didn't have their quarterback for that game, so in their mind, they're coming up here to take what they think is theirs. Bills fans are going to be ready for this. Oh, my gosh. When does the tailgating start here?
We'll be talking a lot of Bills football this afternoon in the Sports Bar when we're joined in the 4 o'clock hour by Nate Gary. You can hear Nate on the Buffalo Bills Radio Network and our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR in Buffalo. Nate joins us at 4:25.
He is good, too, because he played the game in college at Buff State. So I want to ask him specifically, the Mike McDaniel. Okay, I'm moving ahead. Sorry. Yes, I want to talk about the Dolphins with him, and specifically, not what just they're doing with Tua, what they're doing with that running game. Learned today that his last name is pronounced Achan, whoever that running back is. I don't know if he's going to be, seeing all this time against Buffalo, but seems like their running game is just as good as their passing game in Miami.
And they worked the no-look shovel pass a couple of times against Denver. They didn't have an answer for it. I mean, the good news for the Bills is now you've got even more game film, and you have to wonder what Mike McDaniel has cooking up his sleeve to go up against that pass rush and that defensive line, that defensive front for the Buffalo Bills. They're going to be tested on Sunday, but Nate will be great to have on with us. And we know what we know about Tua, and I know Tua's put up nice numbers so far this year, and another 300-yard passing game. But with Tua, he's a one-read guy. He's a one-read guy who, if he tries to throw it more than 20 yards downfield, is a liability. So you have to lean on the things like the no-look shovel pass and hope that you can catch defenses sleeping a little bit for those big gains, or you just get the ball out quickly into the hands of a guy like Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle and let them get up to speed. So I think that's going to be an interesting chess match, what McDaniel can cook up versus what McDermott already knows about this offense. We'll talk to Nate about it all coming up at 4:25.
Yeah, and we'll talk to Jenna Cottrell from 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus coming up here shortly. Get her thoughts on what happened yesterday in D.C. and, of course, looking ahead. And I think we'll talk a little Terrell Bernard with her as well.
Sure will. We got a round of shots coming up during happy hour after 5 o'clock. Some other news and notes from around the NFL. God, we got another doubleheader tonight on Monday Night Football we got to discuss. We'll get to that. We'll talk about last night's Sunday night game with Pittsburgh getting the win over Vegas. We have some takes on tap coming up before 4 o'clock with I'll drink to that as well.
What is this pushback, by the way? I don't like 2 games on Monday Night Football. They were talking about this morning on CBS Sports Radio, and we'll have later this week Armando Salguero on with us, and he's not a fan of 2 games. Are you kidding me? I love this. Why is this not the norm? Why can't we have 2 games on Monday night?
Let me think. I'm kind of undecided on this. Like, tonight might present a challenge because I do actually have interest in both games. Last week there was no interest. I just wanted to watch Pittsburgh-Cleveland.
You want to watch Philadelphia tonight?
Yes, I do. But I also want to watch Cincinnati tonight. I want to watch Cincinnati and the Rams, so now I'm kind of stuck. Like, hopefully it times out where at halftime of the first game I can watch a little bit of the second game and then kind of go back and forth from that point on. So, but it would be a little bit neater, cleaner, just to have one game. I don't want to...
2 devices. This is a 2-device night.
2 devices.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be discussing that and more here throughout the course of the afternoon as Week 3 comes to its conclusion tonight with the Rams and the Bengals, the Bucks, and the Eagles as well. You can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line at 866-4FAN. And I should mention that we have just gone through everything that's on tap in the sports bar here, and that's brought to you by our friends at Three Heads Brewing, where you can get the Rocktoberfest Lager right now on tap at Three Heads. Malty, sweet, and such a treat. Great for this time of year. Get it before it's gone. That's the Rocktoberfest Lager at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue.
Our phone number, 585-866-4FAN. That is 866-4326. First stop, as always, listening in the Odyssey app. Tim in San Diego. Timmy.
Yes. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hey.
First of all, Mike McDaniel. If you have any history of professional wrestling, he looks like the illegitimate son of Harvey Whippleman. Look that up sometime, and
okay.
How similar they look.
Deep pull.
Yeah. I try once in a while, but yesterday they just dominated. I mean, Sam Howell looked every bit like a guy who just was starting his 4th game, and like you mentioned, Danger. Yeah, Drew Bledsoe. He took a lot of punishment yesterday. Some of those hits that he took, he's got to be like, what am I doing? But on to Miami. I mean, like you said, I didn't watch any of the game yesterday, but obviously Denver had nothing, for the Dolphins. And, and also the running game. Raheem Mostert was the fantasy stud of the day, I think. I think he was the highest point getter, if I'm not mistaken. So he had quite a day, as well as that other guy. I won't try and pronounce his name. But that's been the difference for them so far this year. And and obviously it's going to open up things for Hill and Waddle to do more. And this is going to be an interesting battle. I think it's going to be, determined in the trenches. Miami's offensive line hasn't been the best in the past few years. So I think the defensive line of Buffalo and how is McDermott going to come at the Dolphins? Is he going to be more aggressive? Is he going to kind of sit back and be more conservative, just kind of keep everybody in front of them? It'll be interesting to see how this chess match evolves.
I think, Tim, this is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of old-timers like yourself and me that remember what Bills Dolphins used to mean way back in the day, and it's been right. It hasn't. I don't know. Is this this becoming a rivalry, Danger? Perhaps.
It's absolutely a rivalry. In fact, before the season began, when we made our bold predictions, you remember my Week 18 prediction, right?
Yeah, Bills are going to need that game.
The Bills are going to need that game against Miami in Miami, Week 18. That's the game for the AFC East. I think it's going to go back and forth throughout the course of the year, and I think that these teams, both of these teams, are going to be battling it out for supremacy. And it starts on Sunday. I'm still on the fence as to which direction I'm leaning right now. There's a part of me that doesn't want to buy into the offense of Miami, but seeing what we've seen and knowing how fast they are, I can't help but think that that's going to present some problems for the Bills defense. Not because the Bills defense is poor, but they are older. They are a little bit slower. They have been known at times to take inopportune angles. And so that makes me a little bit concerned going into Sunday, Tim, but But man, it's going to be a fun one, and I think that rivalry is alive and well once again.
Indeed.
Thank you, Tim, getting us started
Thank
here.
you.
866-4FAN, 866-4326. This Bills-Dolphins game, would it surprise you, Danger, if I told you that as far as the get-in price, this is the second most expensive ticket on the docket next week. In Philadelphia, it's $199 to get in for Washington, Philly, and that's just riding the wave of a Super Bowl team, right? So in Buffalo, your get-in price right now is $197. Quite honestly, I thought it would be higher. Maybe it will be higher by the time people look at that forecast and they realize, oh, this is actually the game to kind of go to, because remember, the next two games are at night in Buffalo. And if you are looking to go to a Sunday home game, you've got to wait until actually the week before Thanksgiving.
I was going to say, but you know what? All of a sudden, just out of the blue now, my 19-year-old, my daughter, Leah, she's like, when are we going to a Bills game? I want to go. I'm like, wait, hold on. Since when? Since when do you want to go to a Bills game? And I think now she's at this age where she's like, feels like she needs to experience it, needs to check it out, wants to know. Like, she's missed it out. I've never brought her to a game because, well, frankly, I've been to enough games to know what goes on. It's like, yeah, when you're ready to go, when you're more grown up, we'll go. And now she's like, I want to go. So I'm like, I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm like, geez, the only time we're going to be able to go to a Sunday afternoon game is if we go this weekend. Yeah,
because that Jet game is going to be $425, and that's going to feel like a night game. And the Dallas game is probably going to be priced out too.
Yeah.
You're all of a sudden things are kind of flying right by here.
Right. And so now I'm like, okay, well, let me see if I can pull some strings. We'll see. We'll get you to a game. Don't worry. Maybe if it's not this season, next season, but we'll get you to a game. It's funny how fast, and this is why the NFL is king, because it goes by so damn fast, and you don't get the kind of opportunities to go. You have to really make a plan. And by the way, everybody that was all the Bills fans that were in Washington, they took over Washington. When you saw the stands, you didn't see any burgundy and yellow. You saw red, white, and blue.
Yeah, and when we talked to Craig Hoffman on Friday, he kind of laid it out for us because, wait a second, like they have a new owner. Aren't people excited? Well, that new owner really didn't take power when the schedule came out. A lot of people were dumping tickets, so the Bills fan base came in and what I know about Northern Virginia, Danger, nobody is from Northern Virginia that actually lives there. So, like, it is completely transient. So, good on the Bills fan base for coming in. And, yeah, Bills-Dolphins this week. The next three games after this at home, all-night games. Giants, Buccaneers, Broncos. Week before Thanksgiving. I mean, it's like
just
that.
Like that, it's gone. Yeah. Very fleeting, but a lot of fun. And it was just really nice to see the turnout in Washington from Bills Mafia, and some of the video that I saw prior to kickoff too. I mean, the tailgating was spectacular. The Bills fan base travels now as good as any other fan base that you would consider. Like Pittsburgh, yes. Bills, yes. Packers, yes. Like those are the three top of my mind that just really always travel exceptionally well.
I'm wondering if I'm becoming soft here like other people, because I was like, wait a second, if we have this public safety issue, why don't we move the game till 7 o'clock? It was fine yesterday. Yes, it rained a lot on Saturday, but by the time kickoff went in, it was like, okay, it's a bad weather day. It was nothing unusual.
Yeah, and the Bills handled all of it. The didn't really affect either side of the ball. I mean, you were able to get the ball to Steph Diggs, over 100 yards receiving, 8 catches for Stephon Diggs. The defense was the defense. We've already discussed what they did as far as getting after Sam Howell. You had both Trey White and Micah Hyde getting their first interceptions of the season. And, man, what can you say about Terrell Bernard? I mean, has Terrell Bernard in 3 games made more high-impact plays than we saw out of Edmonds his entire time in Buffalo?
Just a football IQ. He knows the ball is going to go to the middle of the field, so what does he do? He's going back into coverage and leaps. One interception I remember from Edmonds. It was his rookie year against Tannehill where he snapped in and caught the ball, and I'm like, wow, there's more to come. And then
I don't want to overreact to his guy that's played 3 games for the Bills at middle linebacker, but man, unfortunately watched some of that Kansas City-Chicago game, and if you watched it, the Travis Kelce touchdown, I mean, there's Edmonds just kind of out of place, not really using his athleticism to
against Kelsey. My
yeah,
goodness!
Yeah. So once again, it's like, oh boy.
Well, how did we? Not that we missed on Bernard, but was this McDermott misdirection? Meaning, okay, Bernard had the soft tissue thing, but he knew all along maybe that was going to be the guy. And let's give Baylon Spector. Okay, no. Let's give Dotson. Oh wait, okay, no. Yeah, no, we're okay. We said this last week. When Christian Kirksey retired, some people were like, oh, my God. No, that's actually a good sign. Kirksey knew.
Yeah, he's not getting on the field. Bernard's playing out of his mind. He's doing all the right things, and it's an important position in this defense. I mean, McDermott had Luke Kuechly all those years in Carolina. Luke Kuechly became a star in Sean McDermott's defense, and Terrell Bernard could become a star in Sean McDermott's defense. Matt Milano's already that guy. I mean, very quietly an all-pro caliber linebacker. You might have your Kuechly and Thomas Davis from Carolina right now in Buffalo with Bernard and Milano, which is probably what Sean McDermott has wanted all along.
Yeah, the size of Edmonds was, it's unparalleled, but Bernard's speed is a better fit for this defense. So again, we're early in, but you're concerned about speed and Tua and the timing and everything like that. Quick linebackers help. And if you're starting, your nickel defense, Taron Johnson up front, I am just curious. McDermott last night after the game, he's like, I'm going to have to put in a little extra work this week. And he saw that the Dolphins put up 70.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about it throughout the course of the week. And you're welcome to do it with us here in the Sports Bar by calling 866-4326 or by reaching out to us on X at The Fan Rochester. Jenna Cottrell of BuffaloPlus.com and 13 Wham Sports. Can't wait to get her report from yesterday and look ahead to Miami with Jenna next here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country.
It's cold and the wings are hot. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, I mean, he comes to work every day and he puts in the time, he prepares. He's mature beyond his years. And that's really why he's had some of the success that he's had to this point. He's still a young player and he's still going to continue to grow. And the older guys are really taking him under their wing and helped him take one step at a time.
This is Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott on his middle linebacker, Terrell Bernard. Another interception for Bernard, his second game in a row with a pick as the Bills advance and beat the Washington Commanders 37-3. Let's bring in Jenna Cottrell, 13 Wham Sports, BuffaloPlus.com to get her take. Not just on yesterday, Jenna, but of course we're going to look ahead to Sunday when Miami comes to Orchard Park. How you holding up?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Well, gosh, is it okay if we start to talk about the Dolphins here? I mean, usually we wait a day or two here, Jenna.
It is so funny because you had the Josh Allen talking about the Dolphins coming up. It was like as soon as that Washington game was over and everyone saw what was happening in the Dolphins game, it was like, oh man, this Sunday is going to be fireworks in Orchard Park, Bills-Dolphins.
Well, it's unrealistic to think that they're going to score 70 again ever, but against the Bills defense, Jenna, and what have you seen out of the Bills defense here, specifically these last two games where they've looked lights out, but there is a different set of challenges that will be presented here by Miami, specifically with the speed and the motion and everything that they do. I mean, how is Sean McDermott preparing for this week, do you believe?
I mean, I think the last 2 weeks have really been a confidence booster for McDermott and what he's been able to do. And when you talk about this defense, I think the first thing that comes to mind is pressure. They've been able to get consistent pressure. You saw all the good that led to 5 turnovers in the game yesterday against the Commanders. And the Bills have invested so much in that defensive line, whether it be draft picks or going and signing free agents, and to see that actually pay off and know that Von Miller is on the sidelines and is going to be coming into the lineup sooner rather than later. I think that is something that the Bills have really been able to show, and good things happen when you're able to get pressure on the opposing QB. So that's something to me where it's going to be a test, though. I mean, yes, I don't expect the Dolphins to put up 70 points for the remainder of the season, but you say speed, and that is the thing that this Dolphins team has in abundance, and that's the thing that is scary. They can put up points in a hurry, and I think for this Bills defense, they've had the confidence of playing a great game last week, playing another great game this week, and the confidence is going to be high, and I think you need that going against a really talented Miami offense.
Jenna, can we talk about Terrell Bernard here for a second? Because I think I think back to day one at camp, and it seemed like this open battle, which I guess it was, and they were trying everybody else out. We saw Balen Spector, we saw A.J. Klein, we saw Dots in there. Now, Bernard had the soft tissue, but I'm just wondering, did McDermott actually kind of slow play this? Once Bernard had the soft tissue thing, it's like, okay, you know what? We know you're the guy, and let everybody talk from the outside, because I thought it was going to be this concern, and the story's completely flipped. This has been a pleasant surprise here.
If Sean McDermott knew this was going to happen, I mean, hats off to him. I got to say, though, I got to give, and it pains me to do this, but I got to give Dan Fates his flowers. He talked about last season we were at training camp, and he's like, I think Terrell Bernard's going to be the Bills starting linebacker next season. And we laughed at him. I was like, there is no way. And then obviously Tremaine Edmonds goes to the Bears. There was that competition. And here's my thing. The Bills they did keep confident. Bernard was on the sidelines. He had the hamstring issue, but they felt comfortable giving him that job early on, to the surprise of kind of all of us. It was like, wow, they must really believe in this kid. And I can see why. I put out a tweet yesterday about the Shaq quote of I apologize, I wasn't familiar with your game, saying that was Bills Mafia saying that to Bernard yesterday. But I think what stands out about Bernard is just his instincts. And he is always around the ball. And Tremaine Edmonds, I mean, he's a physical specimen. He was the Bills starting linebacker for 5 years. You're not going to replace that. And I think the Bills kind of zagged. They decided to go with a smaller, more instinctual. You're not going to get the same size as Edmonds, so let's go in a different direction. And so far, it's really paid off. And you talk about flash plays. and how he wanted so much out of Tremaine Edmonds. And it's like in one game, it's like all the plays that Edmonds made. And that's not a knock at Tremaine because he's obviously an incredibly talented player. But in terms of this defense and where he fits, Terrell Bernard has been honestly seamless so far. Now, small sample size, obviously, but you have to like what you've seen so far from a guy who is honestly the definition of McDermott's hungry and humble. So it's pretty cool to see, truly.
Jenna, we last week spent some time kind of evaluating and looking at the play of Trey White, wondering, what's up with Trey White? Because we've seen moments early on this season where it's just like, we're still kind of waiting for pre-ACL Trey White to show up. And even Sean McDermott last week said, he's getting closer and closer, and at times we see flashes. I feel like we saw flashes of it again here on Sunday, but the challenges that are going to be presented to him and to Christian Benford and Poyer and Hyde in the secondary when you've got guys like Waddle and Tyreek Hill running free. Talk a little bit about what your eyes have been seeing out of the Bills' secondary on defense.
Well, I think yesterday was a great example of guys being in the right spot and showing those plays. Like you talk about Trey White. I mean, let's be real. It's not to say he struggled, but like he hasn't looked like the Trey of old. But having a play like yesterday, jumping the route, getting able to get that ball, having the interception, that is something that he can hang his hat on. And McDermott talked about, like you said, there have been flashes of those moments of seeing the Trey of all-pro Trey. And I think that does a lot for this team's confidence. Micah Hyde obviously having an interception as well. And these guys, like we talk so much about them being on the field, but it's been a little bit since they've all been on the field together. And I think it's great to have the team in the spot that they are heading into this game. They're all healthy. They're all confidence is building because they've been able to play well. Yeah, I mean, and look, they know the challenge that it's going to be. They are very familiar with Tua, Tyreek Hill as well. Jalen Waddle didn't play yesterday. I'm not sure in terms of concussion protocol what the outlook will be, but they have a ton of weapons. And it's like I said, fireworks when I first got on here, but I mean, I don't even know what to expect. I know the line right now is essentially a pick 'em, and the Bills are slight favorites because they're home, but it is something. And the fact that it's week 4 and it's going to be this type of showdown, I think this game will tell a lot about each team, where there are significant things that need improvement and where things are really steady as well.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, though, too, from Miami's standpoint, they'll have a 2-game lead on Buffalo, Jenna. I mean, it is. We could say it's only October, but you're Buffalo, and you got to come from 2 games back and then maybe not even get the tiebreaker. I mean, this is what we love about the NFL here. That this game really does mean a lot here, even though it's going to be just October 1st.
No, it truly is, and that's why that Jets loss was tough in so many ways. But you talk about opening the season against a divisional rival and losing. You're right. Like, this game on Sunday is huge. And that is, for so long it was the Patriots dominating the division. And then obviously the last couple of seasons, Buffalo has taken their turn and they've been able to win handily. But last year you kind of saw the tea leaves of like, okay, the Dolphins are getting better. We thought the Jets would get better as well. Obviously Aaron Rodgers' injury changes a lot of that. But this Dolphins team can play. And there is no lack of confidence on that side of the ball. And in terms of just the play from Tua, too, I mean, we knew he would be good. It's always been a kind of a question of his health. And right now, the team is looking healthy. So, yeah, you talk about the implications of an October game, and it's real. And this Bills team, they want to be in it. They want that 1 seed, and it's going to be a lot. But it's a great test to see where this team is. And it's right. This is why we love the NFL. Every game matters, especially in the division, and Sunday's going to be huge.
Jenna, we talked all offseason about the mistakes of last season, the idea that Josh Allen led the league in turnovers. We can, point the finger at Josh Allen week 1 of that Jets game that you referenced. Hey, that one's on him. He takes that L because of the turnovers against the Jets. I mean, is it as simple for the Buffalo Bills where if they're not turning the ball over, they're not creating this hill or this hole for them to climb out of? Is it as simple as Josh Allen just always making that right decision decision in order for them to stay competitive and win games in convincing fashion the way they have the last 2 weeks. Because, aside from the deep ball that, this one did truly feel like a punt, an arm punt against Washington. Aside from that, I mean, he's been playing fairly mistake-free football, and it looks like it's been simplified for him as well.
I think Sean McDermott said it right. Like, you're going to see Josh Allen be spectacular because that is the athlete and the ability that he has. But now in year 6, he's got to add in that discipline. And we've seen that discipline over these last couple of weeks. And I think that, to me, is the key. Josh is incredible. He can fit the ball in windows that are unreal. Some of the throws that he makes, I still don't know how he had that touchdown to Khalil Shakir against the Raiders. It still blows my mind. But the thing is, you talk about mistake-free football. When the Bills turn over the ball, heck, when any team turns over the ball, you put the game in the balance. And to be able to maintain the football, make smart decisions, that's where it is. This team is so talented. They can share the ball. They can spread the ball around. But they got to make sure that they're protecting the football. And we've seen Josh do that the last couple of weeks. And I think, yes, there are lesser opponents, but at the same point, I think that is what is critical and crucial for this team. I think Allen, we know he loves to make some of those plays that are just head-scratching Josh Allen plays, but at the same moment, we saw him be a little bit more protective of the football. We saw him slide as well. Things like that he could implement into his game that we've talked about for years, and I feel like we're starting to see some of those things.
Yeah, Jenna, even after a win, normally we'll come back and danger on. Usually there's a but. Like, for example, but we're not concerned. What about Trey White? Yeah, but what about that? I don't know what the but is. Maybe I'll give you one example. Hey, if it's 4th and 1, let's just kind of run the ball and not throw it. Other than that, Dorsey, though, like the last 2 weeks, hard to criticize him for anything other than that. Is what we're seeing right now kind of the ideal Buffalo Bills offense, meaning, hey, it doesn't have to be these highlight reel big-time plays down the field. Hey, if you hit Gabe Davis downfield, that's great, as they did for the touchdown. But, Jenna, this idea that you're just going to control a game here the way the Bills have, I go back to the Raider game where you open up the second half and you have a 9-minute drive to begin. Hard to compete when you're going up against something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they always say, like, what's the best offense? Or is it just keeping the other team's offense off the field? I will say some of the draw plays I'm not crazy about, but in the same moment, I think Ken Dorsey, we talked to him heading into this season, and he said he felt a lot more confident because of how, he was able to evaluate last season for him. And then also the fact that he's kind of seen a lot of situations now going into his second year. I mean, there's obviously room to grow still. But at the same point, I think you've seen the Bills be able to share the ball a little bit more. You've seen a little bit more creativity in terms of what we saw from the back half of last season. And you're right, like Josh is going to be Josh, and he has some incredible plays that he has. But my thing is just they'd say staying on schedule, essentially like making sure that you're picking up enough yards so that you're on schedule, you're not behind the sticks. I thought in moments this past game, like there were moments where 3rd and long, it felt like quite a bit. So just being a little bit more on schedule, I think would help this team. But I do think it's important to share the ball. Stephon Diggs is really, really good. But you want to make sure that other teams know that they have to, pay attention to other receivers too. So I think that there's been room to grow, but I think Ken Dorsey has done a good job so far this season. You hope it's not the pinnacle, obviously, week 4 heading in, but at the same point, I think for Bills fans, Dorsey, what you've seen, I think there's success, and hopefully he can continue to build off of that.
And so far, so good with how they've dialed up and used James Cook in his second year. I mean, if you're a running back in the NFL, running for 6.5 per, as Cook did yesterday against Washington, I think you'd take that. You'd sign up for that, and that's on 16 rushes, 98 yards for James Cook. Talk about how Dorsey's been able to deploy the run game at the right time.
Yeah, I think that's something that the Bills have been kind of missing for these last couple of seasons. I think Devin Singletary obviously was in the Bills' backfield for many years, and you knew exactly what you were going to get from him in both a positive way and a negative way. And I think you've seen some bursts from James Cook, and I think that's what the Bills wanted. Obviously, he's a great pass catcher as well. You just want to show that the Bills can run the ball. I know sometimes it is frustrating, though, on first and second down. You're like, oh, great, that was a gain of 1 or things like that. But I think James Cook has been a pleasant surprise for me. I thought last year there were some things that he could work on. Now coming into this season, I think you've seen him take a step forward, but it's about continuing to do that. And in the same mind, like the Bills need to have a run game. Like it cannot be all on Josh Allen. And I think by them being able to run the ball effectively and then having the confidence to do that and know it will work and be efficient, I think that matters a lot. And let's be real, I say confidence a lot in this interview. That's because it is so huge in this league to be confident going in, because there are a lot of really great teams. The Bills are trying to establish themselves as a fantastic team. And to do that, you want to keep building, using that momentum, learning from your mistakes and growing and being confident in the way that you do that. And I think the Bills are doing exactly that right now. But Sunday will be another test. It's like you keep moving up or moving back the goalpost of what you want to see. These last 2 weeks, I've been impressed because the Bills were the better team over both the Raiders and the Commanders, and good teams don't just win, they dominate. It's like, okay, they've been able to dominate. Now they're going to go up against a really, really great team. Where will they stack up in terms of that?
Jenna, last one for me, and it goes back to Von. We were talking about the defensive line earlier. Now he's not going to be available this game. They could. I can't see them activate him for the London game, but from the people you talk to and your sense here, what kind of time frame do you think we'll see Von Miller back?
I think Vaughn would have loved to already be on the field. I definitely think it's the Bills kind of making sure that they're protecting their investment on him and really making sure that he has the time and the ability to get fully back and up to speed. You're right. I don't expect it to be the London game. I see him going back to practice and then maybe a week or 2, if not 3 after that, kind of getting his feet ready, getting back into football shape, doing all of those things. And let's be real, like the Bills I don't want to say they haven't missed Von Miller, because when you have a future Hall of Famer, you're obviously going to miss him, but they've gotten a lot of production that it's not like you need Von back right now. And I think that's been a huge blessing for this team. So they can really bring him back in when he feels ready, when the team feels ready, when everyone's comfortable with the situation. And I expect that to be in, after the London game, maybe if not after Sunday Night Football.
Jenna, what are you, Dan, and Mike working on at BuffaloPlus.com, 13 Web Sports, so we can check out here in advance of Sunday's kickoff?
Well, that's the thing. We're going to be in Buffalo Orchard Park this upcoming week. We'll have our post-practice reports. We also have our preview show on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. You can watch that on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. We have a podcast that we do. We also talk to the opposing teams, one of their reporters, and get a preview of kind of what's going on, what they're saying in the certain NFL cities. So we'll have a report with that. Honestly, we are constantly updating it. It's really been fun. It's been it was a pet project that kind of became what it is now. So I think Bills fans, if they enjoy stuff like that, they can find it on the YouTube channel, and we're always updating it.
Pet project. That's like, it's like your 1A and your 1B now over there practically.
I know, it's crazy. So I made the YouTube channel because I was like, this would be cool. Like, we all talk a lot and it would be fun. And then it's kind of turned into this, which, Catalana, he can chat. So it's been fun to see it grow. I think we just hit over 25,000 subscribers. So it's been really cool and honestly really humbling. So we're having a lot of fun. I think Bills fans would enjoy it if they checked it out.
Yeah, appreciate all you're doing covering the team. Jenna, you guys do a great job. We appreciate you giving us some time this afternoon as well. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you. You guys have a good week, too.
There she is, Jenna Cottrell, 13 Web Sports, BuffaloPlus.com. Hey, if you're going to check out their YouTube channel, we've got one as well at the Fan Rochester. We could use your...
but like Danger wants me to sing Into the Night, so
Us.
I don't...
Not just you. I wouldn't leave you hanging. Us.
Right. Yeah, I can't sing, though.
Then I'll do it. You don't have to. You can sit. You can
Yeah.
sit that one out if you want to, pal. I won't put you in any sort of compromising situation. Wouldn't want to do that to you. Great stuff from Jenna. Great recap. And now we look ahead. It's the Dolphins. Dolphins week. It's going to be great. Now, Nate Geary from Buffalo Bills Radio Network will be joining us here next hour, right around this time next hour. And we'll get his thoughts on yesterday's game, and we'll start to look ahead as well with Nate. as to what is ahead for the Buffalo Bills, the first place Miami Dolphins coming into town.
Yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about this. We got time for your calls at 866-4326. You can also hit us up on X, our handle, The Fan Rochester. I got some takes about what we saw yesterday, and something I thought I would never say, but there's an NFL team that really needs to pick up the phone right now and make some changes before it's too late.
I have a fantasy football take I'll share with you next when we dish out some takes on tap. I'll drink to that is next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. $200 in bonus bets, win or lose if you're a new customer. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, it's NFL season, man. You've got a doubleheader tonight. There's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options. You can bet on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. That's FanDuel.com/Mike if you're a new customer. Kick off the NFL season with me on FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the inside scoop.
You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I think I've said it from the beginning of the year. Just a guy who's just seems like he's always around the ball, great instincts, commands the defense, and he made some huge plays today. Some plays that just kept our momentum going, and he's going to continue to make plays for the defense. He's a great player.
That is Bills safety Jordan Poyer talking about his teammate linebacker Terrell Bernard. Unbelievable with 2 sacks, a pick, a recovered fumble, 2 quarterback hurries, a pass breakup, and a team best 7 total tackles. Terrell Bernard, a man on a mission for the Buffalo Bills. The Fan Rochester's Man on a Mission, brought to you by the Open Door Mission. Go to opendoormission.com to see how you can guarantee a win for someone today. Let's get to some takes on tap.
Well, I have a take on Bernard. Do they give him the AFC Defensive Player of the Week? Because you would think, but then you also have Myles Garrett with 3.5 sacks. That's a story out there in Cleveland.
I think it's Bernard, man. I think it's Bernard. When you see stats like he did something in that game that's only been done like twice. I think Urlacher was one. There was another.
Yeah, same thing. The last time you had a player on the Buffalo Bills with an interception and a sack in the same game, got to go back to Cornelius Bennett as for a linebacker. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Boy, so much other things we can get to, and I think it is cruel to come on the air and say, "Hey, this person should be fired." But what Josh McDaniels did last night was show gross incompetence. If you stayed up for this, let me explain if you missed this. The Raiders are down by 8. Okay, they've got the ball. They can tie this up late. And they're faced with a 4th and 4 at the Steeler 8-yard line, 2:31 left. He kicks the field goal.
Yeah.
To cut the lead to 5. Oh, they don't get the ball back. Sorry, you lose. But to make it even weirder about that decision, it was earlier in that drive, 3:11 left. He settled for a 48-yard field goal at that time. But a 15-yard penalty made it clear. Take the points off the board. You go for the touchdown, except he didn't do that. He kicked the field goal anyway, and he wastes all that time in between. So what was the plan there to begin with? Here's my question, Danger. What happens when Tom Brady comes in and he's the minority owner here? Is it's going to be, hey, get out, Josh. Let's shape up. Let's get the Raiders here. Respectable. No, Brady is going to do what all minorities do, and that's just be silent.
What's more incompetent, that by McDaniels or Brandon Staley going for it on 4th and 1 against the Vikings and basically giving them great field position by not converting
or
with the game on the line?
Or like Kirk Cousins, how many years have you played football? The fact that they're all walking up to the line.
I don't know what you mean, Gene. Kirk Cousins, I don't know if you saw this or not, but Kirk Cousins leads the league in passing yards. Justin Jefferson leads the league in receiving yards.
He has some of the biggest brain farts possible. The ending of that game is comical. They get the 4th down. There's 41 seconds left. They waste nearly 30 seconds to get the play off. All you have to do is run up the line, spike it. You get 3 shots to win the game.
The Staley call to go for it on 4th one. I don't know if analytics played a part into McDaniels' decision to kick a field goal, thinking that they were going to get the ball back, or the odds were in their favor to get the ball back. But man, it just feels like you have to be able to take the data as it exists in a vacuum and then decide with your gut, with your instinct, with the way the game is going. Like, the data is there, it presents itself, but it's not always going to go in your favor, obviously. And that's where the soul comes into being a head coach. Brandon Staley, I just think, is soulless. I just think he's solely going off of those numbers, off of the analytics. And by the way, in that situation, I want to say their chance to win was actually better had they punted the ball instead of going for it. If they would have made it, yes, you probably iced the game away, but just punt the ball. You gave Minnesota a chance. You kind of get out of there, luck out of there with the win. As far as the field goal, there are a lot of people that wonder, and I can't remember what the spread was of that game between the Raiders and Steelers last night. But, from last week when McVay kicked a meaningless field goal to cover the spread against the Niners, there's a lot of people scratching like, what are these NFL coaches doing in terms of just, even Washington's like, all right, you don't want the shutout, kick the field goal late. If that helps you sleep at night, pal, go ahead. There was no Vegas implication there, but you are you are doing something that's like, really, let's just get off the field before anybody else gets hurt in this game between the Bills and Washington yesterday. I can't understand what you assume rational coaching, right? You assume it. So with that, let me give you my fantasy football take here, because this falls under the umbrella of, well, Sigmund Bloom from Football Guys always talks about the assumption of rational coaching, which I love. There's a player for the Broncos right now who's accounted for 8 of their 10 longest gains so far this season. And he's done it on just 7 catches and 5 kick returns. It's Marvin Mims, the rookie wide receiver. He's played so well for having played so little. And the Broncos, you would assume, have to like him. They traded up to go get him in April. So the rational move here by Sean Payton would be feature him more. I'd be buying right now if you're down a Mike Williams, if you're a Mike Williams owner and you're looking for a replacement for the guy that's gone for the season with that torn ACL. Maybe a guy like Marvin Mims is a guy that you get now and buy for the rest of the season based on the production that he's put out with very, very little to do in that offense.
Yeah, week 1, Mims has 110 yards in the first half. I'm like, whoa. And then they don't throw to him again.
Rational coaching.
And then they lose the game to the Raiders. Yeah. So, are you excited for that matchup this week, buddy? Broncos and Bears.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm dead. I'm dead inside. There's nothing left. I was playing cards on Saturday night with a buddy's brother who's a Chiefs fan. And I'm like, look, we all know how this is going to go. We knew how it was going to go. We called it immediately it was last week at this time. We're like looking at the schedule, trying to think about survivor picks. We're going to kick our feet up. We're going to take the Chiefs. We know what's going to happen. And what happened exactly the way we thought it would. Justin Fields looks terrible. He's a mess mentally. He can't throw the ball downfield. Defensively, everything is a mess in Chicago. But then you've got Denver, who just let Miami drop 70 on them. So really, that game, it's a toilet bowl. It's terrible.
Which is just a shame that for Survivor, we can't go to the Denver-Chicago card, meaning, those are teams I want to pick. We can't pick again. No. It's going to be difficult this week, but we will guide you through tomorrow.
A little tease for you tomorrow at this time.
4:25 tomorrow, our winner. The story from over the weekend that the agents for Matt Ryan and also the agent for Carson Wentz actually reached out to the New York Jets, and the Jets said, yeah, we're good. We like our quarter. Yeah, Zach Wilson yesterday, 18 of 36, 157 yards. The offense only putting up 10 points, but let's be honest, that might be the worst line in the league right now with Dwayne Brown hurt, and you got to put Becton back in the left tackle, and he's not any good. Yet you had Robert Saleh doubling down, saying that Wilson gives them the best chance to win. Does anyone give the Jets a chance against the Chiefs this week? Of course not. Nothing has changed with Zach Wilson. Words I thought I would never say, Danger. Carson Wentz would actually give them a better chance.
I'll stop short of saying that. Only because Wilson at least has been there for a couple of years and might actually know a little bit more about that offense. I don't know that Wentz gives any... I mean, there's a reason why Wentz hasn't been signed, right? There's been plenty of opportunities to sign a Carson Wentz or to bring back a Matt Ryan. I just didn't think Ryan had anything left in the tank when it was all said and done. And as far as Wentz goes, there's probably more at play there than we'll ever know because of the kind of presence he has in a locker room. Don't know what that's all about, but he remains unsigned. Zach Wilson's tough. That's a tough one for you if you're a Jets fan. You just got to kind of grit. And I get what Saleh's doing. Like, you ruined his confidence last year. You completely ruined his confidence last year. This year, if you're going to try and get anything out of him, you've got to build him up. We just spent all that time with Jenna just now talking about the confidence of the Bills' defense. You've got to have confidence in this league. Zach Wilson had his confidence shattered last year. And now you have to kind of go back to the well and try to prop him back up, even though what your eyes tell you is this kid ain't good. He just can't do it. He's not the guy. And Sam Howell looked good the first 2 weeks of the season. He didn't look like the guy yesterday. He did not look like the guy in Washington yesterday. A good defense can humble you pretty quickly in this league. All right, we got to get to Nate Geary, who's going to join us here in about 25 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on yesterday's win in Washington. We'll look ahead to Dolphins week here as the Dolphins are coming to Orchard Park on Sunday. We have time for your calls. You can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That's 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Best barbecue in town. That's Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub in East Rochester. You've got Taco Tuesday tomorrow with Good Smoke's chicken, pork, or beef gorditas for only $3. Plus, you've got the Good Smoke Super Happy Hour that features buy one, get one draft beers and $3 well drinks weekdays from 2 to 6. Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country. 7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills get a convincing win on the road, 37-3. That ended up being the final. One of the heroes for Buffalo linebacker Terrell Bernard.
Yeah, it was fun. That's the name of the game, and making plays. So going out there and doing everything that I could to help this team win. I had a great time.
Nick Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network, will join us later this hour here in the Sports Bar. We got not one but two games tonight. 7:15 for Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. 8:15 for Los Angeles. The Rams at Cincinnati. Quarterback Joe Burrow expected to give it a try for the Bengals tonight. It's the final week of the regular season in Major League Baseball. The Yankees, in front of friends and family, the makeup game, they lead right now 6-4 in the ninth against Arizona. Red Wing season ends on a down note. They fall in Indianapolis yesterday. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome to a Buffalo Victory Football Monday.
I think this is the game that the Bills defense needed to have going into a game that they're going to have against the Dolphins.
Mike Danger.
I think they call that complementary football, right? The defense takes care of the offense takes care of the defense does their job.
My man, Terrell Bernard, linebacker, Baylor.
Gene Battaglia.
So next up, it's the Miami Dolphins.
You're playing for first place.
It was a record-setting day for the Dolphins. 70 points.
Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
You know what? I've met her before. Might set him up.
Usher will be headlining the Super Bowl halftime show.
Buy or sell, it should have been Taylor Swift.
Buy.
Tonight, the Bucs host the Eagles, 7:15 Eastern. The Bengals and Rams in Cincy at 8:15.
I hate having two games.
A wild week in around football, both college and the pros.
We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world.
Here come the Buffalo Sabres!
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Monday Night Football doubleheader coming up later tonight. We've got Nate Geary joining us from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network in about 15-20 minutes or so. We have time for your calls at 585-866-4FAN. And you can get at us on the space formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, at The Fan Rochester. And we get some reaction here we want to get to in a second. But thank you first for joining us here on the Sports Bar. Gino and I, don't take it for granted. We know, like, how great is it that we get to talk about sports every afternoon here in the Flower City.
Absolutely. We're privileged to do this. When you have the Bills win, you have the Bills lose. You and I love doing this. You can hear us on the FM, the AM, Odyssey app, YouTube, Twitch. How many platforms can we get up to?
Just find us at the Fan Rochester. You'll get a hold of us one way or the other. And then the idea that you spend part of your day with us, even if it's just for 5 minutes on the ride home, is humbling. So it's great to be able to talk on a Victory Monday after the Bills handled their business in Washington. Vincent, however, tweeting us at the Fan Rochester. The Bills lost to one real SE team and beat two crappy teams. Need to calm the hype. Take it down to about a 3.
Okay, Vincent's. He doesn't show his face. It's a Washington football logo. Vincent, like, there's gonna be brighter days ahead for your football team in Washington with that new owner. I mean, this is kind of like the bottom point of building here. No, that's what this week is about, Vincent. We realize, okay, that the Bills beat two teams, but you know what? They smashed them. They smashed the Raiders and they smashed Washington on the road. Now here comes the test. And yes, what happened on Monday night against the Jets, you know, I wouldn't call the Jets defense essy. I'm sorry. That defense is legit. That defense held New England to 15 points. It held Buffalo to 16 points. That defense will keep the Jets in practically every game this year.
That defense is going to be counted on to keep the Jets in every game because their offense can't really do much.
Correct. But the idea that we need to calm down, no, if you think this is bad, then you're going to be totally tapped out by the time Thursday comes around.
Well, look, I think as we kind of evaluate and talk about both of these teams throughout the course of the week, it's going to be a challenge for me to get to a place where I really believe that Buffalo's defense can shut down this Miami offense. And we've seen them do it last year twice. They didn't really shut them down, but you get the win 2 out of those 3 matches against Miami. It just looks different. It's weird. I don't think they've gotten faster, but they look faster this year than they even did last year. And LeBaron pointing out at the Fan Rochester, prepare for Hill to get 177 yards and 2 touchdowns on 32 drag. I mean, you just get the ball into 32 drag routes. You just get the ball into Hill's hands and you let him do his thing. He's going to be a tough matchup for an aging Bills secondary.
This is my view of the Miami offense. Tua gets the ball out so dang quick.
He's a one-read quarterback.
He's
always been that
Boom.
way. Yep.
And that's the Bills' pass rush. No, it was the opposite yesterday. You had the modern version of Bledsoe going back. Boop, 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 boop. I'm waiting for my guy to get open. Oh, I'm sacked.
This is
the opposite.
This is rational coaching. This is, in fact, I think McDaniel has done a good job working with what he has, recognizing, all right, we know what his strengths are, we know what his weaknesses are, and this is a byproduct of the Shanahan offense, right? Like Kyle Shanahan knows, like Brock Purdy isn't going to set the world on fire with his talent. He's not that guy. But he understands the offense, and Shanahan knows his limitations. So he's going to make sure he dials it back when he needs to dial it back. And I think you have the same thing with Tua. It's a lot easier to do a no-look shovel pass if you're Tua Tagovailoa, or to hit Tyreek Hill on your one read, than it is to dissect the secondary, go through multiple reads, and try to hurl it 20 yards downfield. He can't do it. He's a liability when he tries to throw the ball downfield. So if you know that, if you're Sean McDermott in the defense of the Bills, you know that. How do you exploit that? How do you take advantage of that? How do you minimize that risk?
Here's how I do it. I think I want 3 and outs and I want takeaways. And the way you do that is you're being more aggressive than you have. And yes, what's going to happen? Hill maybe goes out the door once or twice in this game, but I'm just the law of averages on this. As long as you don't let the Dolphins just kind of pick their way down the field and it ends up in the score, I think we really haven't seen things that aggressive. I remember that game down in Miami, Matt Milano blitzing Tagovailoa and actually kind of knocking him out of the game.
You haven't had to blitz.
No.
It's been great. I mean, you've got a front 4 that's getting pressure on the quarterback, confusing Sam Howell because he doesn't know where to throw the football because everybody's covered as well as they are. And you're getting pressure with your front 4. If that can continue, then I think, the only thing you're worried about at that point is over pursuit. Right? Like, are they moving so fast that they're using your aggressive front 4 against you? That remains to be seen. It's going to be a hell of a matchup. Really looking forward to it.
This is a record for us, right? Like, okay, that was great yesterday. You did what you had to do.
No, it
Miami,
becomes a story.
Yeah.
Miami forced the issue by scoring 70. Everybody's going to talk about Miami scoring 70. Miami's offense. How do you stop it? How do you... Look, I don't know that you can stop it or slow it down. Even with backup quarterbacks last year, they scored points against the Buffalo Bills. Bills scored more 2 of those 3 games. And the one game that they lost to Miami, that was down to the wire as well. So it's going to be tough. Miami, the Jets, they're just going to pose problems for the Buffalo Bills. And for what it's worth, we haven't seen the Patriots yet this year. I think the Patriots are going to be a problem for the Bills as well. I think the Bills should beat the Patriots. But the Patriots defense can play. It's Bill Belichick's defense, and he can still play.
It's all about timing here. Like, if you said 2 weeks ago, oh my gosh, Jacksonville. Now you look at Jacksonville and you're like, yeah, that's a game you should go down. Go to London and win.
Yeah. You can join us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. We're also on Twitter at The Fan Rochester. Chris from South Central Kentucky, one of our regulars, listening on the Odyssey app. Zach Wilson can get his confidence back fairly quickly by taking his shot at Donna Kelsey.
Chris.
It's not a bad suggestion. Go after. Good luck with that.
Yeah. What's our? I think I'm at my limit of Taylor Swift cutaways. Honestly, like, oh, she's in Kansas City. Oh, she's in the box. Oh, she's walking out of the gate. I don't care.
This is great news for the Bills. Great news for the Bills. Through the course of the season, it becomes a distraction. You already have Mahomes admitting, yeah, I felt pressure to get the ball to Kelsey knowing she was here. Kelsey's weak knees already on display. Week 1, he missed because of the weak knee. This is great news for the Buffalo Bills.
No, I look at it the opposite, okay? Because Who's the number one girlfriend in Buffalo Bills land right now? And is she going to say, hey, maybe this will help my career if I can... You know who I'm talking about.
Taylor Swift doesn't need any help with her career. She's just fine. If anything,
but Haley Steinfeld needs help with her career. And
she does not. She's fine. She's fine.
She is not at Taylor Swift's level.
Of course she's not at... Nobody's at Taylor Swift's level, and nobody will be. People are comparing her to the Beatles, Gene. Like, this is unprecedented what she's done with her career. Nobody's seen anything like this before. Yeah, Haley Steinfeld is not going to be that.
Paul McCartney ever try to get a radio guy in Rochester fired? I don't.
No. I mean, I'm not saying we should absolve her of her sins. She's pure evil. Pure evil.
You ever start to thumb somebody a text and then and I stopped. I was ready to text Binkley in the middle of the game and be like, there's a story here. You'll have to tell Binkley.
Yeah, I'll share that story with Bink at some point. We've got Nate Geary joining us here in less than 10 minutes. We'll talk more Bills and Commanders, and we'll look ahead to Dolphins week here in the Sports Bar coming up here in less than 10 minutes.
Brad in Rochester joining us at 8664-FAN. What's up, Brad?
Hey, Brad.
Hey, you guys are killing me. I really think that if the Bills play like they played the last two games on offense, where they're just taking what the Dolphins give us and keeping that Miami's offense off the field, we have a great chance.
Yep.
Keep them off the field. Force them to try and push or pressure themselves to score, and we go down. We put a couple sevens up. They get a couple 3-and-outs. Tua's going to try and throw deep. He's going to try and push it just because.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that part of it, but it is, if you want to simplify it, as simple as keeping their offense on the sideline and eliminating your mistakes, no turnovers. I mean, you can't have a mistake-filled game the way you did week one. If you're Josh Allen against Miami, they'll make you pay. You can't give them additional possessions. They'll make you pay. That offense needs to be sidelined as much as possible. I don't know that I'll say Tua's going to throw it down just because. Tua hasn't been throwing it downfield just because. He's kind of like Josh Allen in that he's taking what the defense gives him, but he is getting the ball out of his hands quick. He's a one-read quarterback. He's going to find that guy, get it to him, and let him make the play, and then it's on the Bills to be stout up front, to be disciplined and fundamental with their tackling, and not let these guys slip through.
I want to ask Nate Geary when we have him on a little bit, because, yes, the Tua stuff, we have never seen in our lifetime a team run the ball down somebody's throat the way Miami did yesterday to Denver. Now, was that Denver laying down, or is that really the secret sauce to this Miami offense? The fact that, hey, all of a sudden we figured this out. And if you want to go, defend against Tua and drop everybody, against Tyreek Hill, drop everybody back, we're going to run it down your throat.
Well, and they had success running the football against the Bills last year too, if you remember.
Right.
So it is worth monitoring, and the Bills are going to have to be on their best behavior defensively, not just against that speed, not just against that quarterback, but against that run game as well. They're going to have their hands full. Appreciate the call, Brad. You can join us at 866-432-6585, 866-4FAN. All right, let's make sure we have plenty of time here for Nate Geary. You can hear him on the Buffalo Bills radio network. He's also on our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR in Buffalo. He's going to join us next, and we'll not only recap what was a great performance by the Buffalo Bills in Washington yesterday, but we'll continue to look ahead to Sunday in Orchard Park with the first place Miami Dolphins coming into town, a matchup that will determine who's in first place this time next week. Could be the Buffalo Bills. We'll see, Gino.
Or the Bills are 2 games back.
Which would be a challenge.
Yeah.
Which would be a hole that would be tough to climb out of. We'll get into that and more next with Nate Geary from WGR and the Buffalo Bills Radio Network next on The Fan Rochester. 95.7 FM, AM 950.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
We don't focus on that. We'll watch our film, figure out what we have to fix, and try to develop a game plan to go against their defense, and trust our defense to go out there and play their game.
Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network, joins us next. We'll talk a little Bills and Dolphins. 2 games on Monday Night Football, 7:15 tonight for Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. Joe Burrow expected to give it a go tonight when the Bengals host the LA Rams. That'll be at 8:15. Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams, he is out for the season. Williams with a torn ACL. Final week of the regular season in Major League Baseball. The Yankees this afternoon winning over Arizona 6-4. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, they played fantastic. Obviously, that's a fantastic front that we faced. All 4 of those guys can absolutely go, and it was a good test for us. And I'm glad things went, obviously, the way that they went, but just utilizing our game plan, getting some move the pocket stuff, switching up where we're throwing the football, trying to stay two-dimensional. I thought Coach Dorsey did a good job with that tonight.
Here's Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen heaping some praise on his offensive line for the second week in a row, erasing any sort of pass rush from the defensive line of their opponent. As we welcome in Nate Geary from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network. You can hear him pregame, postgame here on the Fan Rochester game days. Nate, it was an impressive performance for a second week in a row from Josh Allen, from the Bills offensive line. But we've been spending a lot of time today talking about the growth of Terrell Bernard, who in 2 weeks has just kind of become like the guy. I mean, like we were trying to think, he's probably your defensive player of the week in the AFC if it's not for Myles Garrett and his 3.5 sacks.
Yeah, 3.5 sacks, very impressive for Myles Garrett. Add in pass deflection or 2 pass deflections, an interception, a fumble recovery, and 7 tackles, and it's hard to look at that stat line and not be impressed and think that he really kind of deserves the nod this week, and a second start nonetheless. Yeah, listen, I mean, he has been everything that I think the Bills had thought and hoped he could be, and a lot more. I remember, we were talking in the summertime, like, who would this be? Would it be Dotson? Would it be another veteran that they would bring in? And it's really turned out to be the Terrell Bernard show. And listen, it always takes games to sort of figure this out. But between Bernard, between how well Spencer Brown has played the last 2 weeks, how well Christian Benford has played, other than, a couple of penalties here and there. But, like, some of these young guys are real. James Cook are really, really taking steps for this team. And I think you feel a lot better about the Bills in their trajectory this year than you did maybe 6-8 weeks ago, because you just didn't know what Terrell Bernard would be. You didn't know if Spencer Brown could handle this, and would they find a veteran replacement for him? Would they – Christian Kirksey, they signed him. Well, that's a great signing because you think you might have to use him. And all of a sudden, these young guys are starting to establish themselves as legitimate starters. And in Terrell Bernard's case, is starting to establish himself as a higher-end starter. And, man, how great would that be is if you could really replace one-for-one the production that Tremaine Edmonds had with Terrell Bernard. I think you feel really good about that with a third-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's saying, boy, I can't remember Edmonds having that sort of game with the impact of just big plays. And does that just go to that maybe Bernard has better instincts? That's part one of my question. Part two would be, Nate, how did we all not kind of catch on to this? Was this Sean McDermott kind of slow playing this maybe through training camp? The idea that, hey, we're going to have a competition, and the fact that Bernard got hurt, we really didn't get to see it? Or is even this a pleasant surprise, would you think, to the Bills coaching staff?
I would bet it's at least a little bit surprising for them. I can't imagine they thought it would go this well. I'll tell you this, though, is that the coaching staff and players last year, you talked to Bernard, you talked to Matt Milano. I've heard there's a quote from Matt Milano talking about Bernard last year during training camp, where he talked about how his instincts, his ability to read and react, were really impressive. It was impressing the veterans on that defense. And last year, when you hear that, you say, okay, but he could have great instincts, but if his body isn't big enough, if he's not big and strong enough to shed blocks in the NFL, instincts kind of don't matter. So I think that what he's shown is those instincts and really good defensive line play, which is what he's getting right now. has really unlocked his ability to play freely, to play downhill, to play with instincts. And, until they meet an offensive line that can get to the second level, which they have not met yet because the defensive line's been playing so well, that, I think he's kind of the perfect piece. I mean, he's got speed, he's got instincts, and you're going to need both of those things in this matchup this week against a running attack that just had like 300-something yards rushing against the Denver Broncos. So, yeah, I really like the speed and the sort of quickness that he brings, because him and Milano both get downhill. Man, do those guys fly when they read and react. And I think part of the playing the position, I've never played linebacker, but there are positions in football where when you're confident in what you're seeing and what you're processing, you can play a far freer game. This is talked about a lot in hockey in the NHL, right? When guys start to get acclimated to the NHL game and they're not thinking so much, they're freed up to react more and to process the game at a quicker level. And I think that's what we're seeing with Bernard. And, I'm just not sure. Maybe part of this was a little bit of a slow play, guys, but I think it's hard for us to conceptualize because we just didn't see him in game action. I think they knew that they had something there, which is why, when they left camp, when they broke camp, there wasn't a huge signing. There were other guys, Deion Jones. There was guys with starting experience in the league, and they went with Christian Kirksey, who, ultimately retired last week. And I think that they feel they're in a really good position at the linebacker position right now with Terrell Bernard in the middle.
Nate, talk a little bit about the offensive line that you heard Josh Allen just talking about, because it's been 2 weeks now that they've just erased any sort of a pass rush from good pass rushers. That was the big fear about Washington was, hey, that front four, that's a menacing front four. I mean, Josh Allen, I think, was rushed maybe or hurried maybe once all afternoon yesterday. The job that Aaron Cromer did here from week 1 to now week 2 and 3, and 2 consistent performances by his offensive line.
Let's start with Osiris Torrance, who, if they ever gave Rookie of the Year out to an offensive lineman, he would have early on here has a real good argument. 0 pressures given up through the first 3 games against 3 really good defensive line. There was times he was head-to-head with Jonathan Allen and absolutely neutralized what I believe is the 3rd best defensive tackle in the league. I have just been thoroughly impressed with him. McGovern's just been a nice, steady, a significant improvement over Roger Saffold last year. Is he a top 5 player at his position? No, I don't think so. But they're not paying him to be a top 5 player. They're paying him to be a notable upgrade, which he has been. I think Torrance has been a notable upgrade. They have really solidified the interior 3 around Mitch Morse, and I think it really shows both in the run game but also in the pass game. They're not giving up those pressures right in Josh Allen's face. When the pressure comes, it comes from the edges, which you can block. There's things you can do as Ken Dorsey to mitigate, to help out your offensive lineman when the rush is coming from around the edge. That happens to the best offensive linemen. Defensive players around the edge, there's speed, there's quickness, there's bull rushes. Those things happen, and you can help. You can create chips. You can keep an extra running back. You can keep an extra tight end to help those. It's really hard when you have inconsistently interior offensive linemen losing one-on-ones. It's really hard to scheme up ways to mitigate that. So they've really solidified the interior of that offensive line. Right now, they've got 4 players inside the top 50 grades in PFF right now, and Spencer Brown's 3 players outside the top 50. This is an offensive line that's really coming together. I've been thoroughly impressed over the last 2 weeks with what I've seen from Spencer Brown. He's starting to lean on technique a little bit more. I was watching some Cover 1 highlights earlier this afternoon and just kind of talking about Spencer Brown, and I think it's starting, the lights turned on a little bit for him. He's not, this is another situation where, like Terrell Bernard, I think he's playing without thinking as much. And I think because of that, he's able to lean on his athleticism and lean on some technique a little bit more. And I think all of this is to say, yeah, Aaron Cromer's doing a hell of a job piecing together an offensive line that got together, in April as a starting 5 and really didn't solidify until the end of training camp when Osiris Torrance was named starting guard. That, this team, this unit really came together. So, yeah, all hats off to Aaron Cromer's done, by all accounts, an incredible job piecing together an offensive line and seeing real tangible differences and changes in it.
Nate Geary, WGR, Buffalo Bills Radio Network, our guest here. So, Nate, we're already looking ahead here. On a Monday, it's the Dolphin weekend. What Miami did yesterday, we'll get to Tua and Tyreek Hill and all that, but as far as their running game, I don't know if we've ever seen one team take it to another team the way they did. So your thoughts on what Miami did on the ground game? Is there something different, exotic? What was that? Or is that just more or less Denver laying down in the second half and a lot of stats accumulating that way?
Not sure what Denver had planned for. There's no doubt Devin Achane, he can move. That guy's a 4-2 player, and that showed. Mostert's a 4-3 player, and that showed. They're winning one-on-one battles along the offensive line. They didn't make many personnel changes. In fact, I think they have the same front five that they ended last season with. I think the difference is they're winning some one-on-one battles. They have a great blocking center in Connor Williams. And because of what they're doing through the air right now, it's giving them the most ideal run looks possible. So 2 weeks ago, they only scored 24 points against the Patriots. The Patriots ran a lot of 3-high safety. And when you run a 3-high safety, you got to be able to turn around and run the ball effectively. I think they did that for the most part against the Patriots. Then it's, quadrupled down yesterday against the Denver Broncos. And I don't know what's going on with the Denver Broncos. Defensively, that was supposed to be, hey, at least they have that defense if they weren't going to be good this year. And what Russell Wilson look more like the Russell Wilson we've seen. And that was going to be the question. But the defense is the defense. They'll always be good. They've got, the pieces over there. And they got thoroughly embarrassed. There's no doubt about that. I'll say this, the offense as a whole is operating and functioning at super high levels. The efficiency, the trust, and Mike McDaniels is doing an unbelievable job setting his guys up for success. But I said this on postgame yesterday, I'm not sure I've heard Chris Greer's name come up once with the success of this team. And I think it's got to, because Chris Greer put together an offense of track stars. And, for a long time, Al Davis would sort of the punchline of jokes about assembling guys that ran fast 100-meter dashes. And it's hard because what he's done is he's amassed guys who are the fastest guys in the league, but are all football players. These guys aren't track guys disguised as football players. These guys are real football players, the Waddles, the Tyreek Hills, the A-Chains, and the Mozarts, and even like Braxton Berrios, who brings a ton of speed to that lineup. Like, they are just fast throughout. They're going to be a really tough cover next week. There's no doubt.
So, Nate, and part of what you're talking about, I think, too, you mentioned giving some credit to Mike McDaniel. I think a byproduct of working with Kyle Shanahan is you really do a good job of identifying the strengths and weaknesses of each of your players and putting them in as many positions possible to have success. And we've been critical of Tua in the past. He's a one-read quarterback. He throws it more than 20 yards downfield. It's a liability, but they've found ways to make it work with Tua and his limitations. And part of that is the speed that they've infused in over the last 2 seasons here. Long way of asking the question, if you're Sean McDermott and you're looking at this offense, what are you planning that's going to be different this weekend versus what you've done the last 2 weeks, which has been highly effective?
Yeah, listen, I think they've got a lot. They've got a task in front of them. No one has really – I think the one – Belichick did a good job last week of – if he had any kind of offense, I think the Patriots could have won that game. And I think if 1 or 2 plays go the other way in week 1, that L.A. could have won that game. So do I think this is some unbeatable team? No. Do I think that right now they're the best offense in the league? I do. But I think that they've won 2 close games against one who's got a good offense and a terrible defense, another one that is just this week. I mean, both the offense and defense played poorly, and the Patriots team with a really good defense and a pretty bad offense. So they have not yet played the complete team that the Buffalo Bills are. Do I feel confident that the Bills and Sean McDermott can come up with a game plan? I do. My concern is the separation that Mike McDaniels is now scheming. Before, when he was using Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle last year, they were just winning one-on-one battles and out foot racing people. And now they're both getting running head starts. It's almost like they're doing Canadian rules, where they're, Tyreek Hill's in a full sprint. That's hard to defend. I wonder if the thing they've got up their sleeve is, do we see an active Kyer Elam this week? The 3 best games of his career have come against the Miami Dolphins last season. And I think you might want a more physical man corner played and dressed in, maybe even starting in this game, than a Christian Benford, who's a 4-5 guy, a Dane Jackson, who's a 4-5 guy. You really are going to need a 4-4 guy, I think, lined up today or this week against the Miami Dolphins. And I wonder if that's a wrinkle. I think we might see more Taylor Rapp, more three safety sets. But I think all in all, right now, what I think Terrell Bernard has shown is that he's got to be on the field. So it'll be really interesting what kind of wrinkles we see Sean McDermott and what I think we know is that last year, when the Bills don't really follow a lot of blueprints. They really believe in what they do, the base defense that they have. And I think they're going to try to put together a good game plan. and get their hands on some passing lanes, try to hope to maybe knock some passes down and force Tua to their second read. But I think you do that becoming a little bit more physical at the line of scrimmage. But Miami's making that so hard with the motions that they're building into the offense, where you can't get hands on a guy that's already running full speed at the snap.
I'm just curious also about a lot of things, but the safeties for Buffalo in this game, Poyer and Hyde, and maybe this is the last year we have the tandem together here. And if you're Sean McDermott, do you play him back? Do you play him high here with the idea that, hey, I don't want Waddle or Hill or anybody else for that matter to get behind him? Or are you rolling the dice a little bit more knowing, hey, I'd rather force a 3-and-out and try to win the game that way? And if they go out the door on one play, so be it. How do you see the safeties and being employed in this game, Nate?
Well, that's going to be really the question, because I think the tough part about this conversation is going to be if you play the safeties that deep and you know they're running at the clip that they're running, that could be a really tough. That's really where I think they hurt Denver this week. Is they wanted to play too high shell and keep everything in front of them. First of all, they didn't do a good job of that. But then by doing that, they just let them run, and they missed tackles, and they took terrible, angles at running backs. The Bills are going to have to take really strong angles. They're going to have to be super disciplined, and when they get their hands on players, they are going to have to make the tackle. So I think for me, you can have those guys super deep and not want to get beat over the top, but you got to do that. You kind of have to. They're going to have to mix in some different looks. They're going to have to try to do something that no team has done yet, which is try to confuse Tua in pre to post snap shifts. And what you can't do is be late on those shifts and give them an opportunity with an opening down the field, because Tua will throw it up and Tyreek Hill will run under it. So yeah, they've got a full on task ahead of them. I'm really interested to see what they decide to do with the safety, because they're not the fleetest of foot, and I think that's it's going to be a really interesting decision to make if you're Sean McDermott.
After seeing 1 week of bad Josh on that Monday night opener, we've seen 2 weeks of virtually mistake-free Josh Allen, save for maybe that interception yesterday. Nate, is it? I hate to simplify things, but I mean, really, offensively, it is as simple as just not turning the ball over, is it not?
I think it's about as simple as that. I think, not beating yourselves, I think is a big one. I thought, they only had one turnover yesterday, but just a couple of untimely, the tripping call that put them into second and long. Yeah. There was a holding call after a good play on Spencer Brown that brought them back. The untimely penalties are tough. I think the other thing too is, outside of interceptions and beating yourself, is they got to do a better job on first down. Like getting themselves in 2nd and 10. For whatever reason, Ken Dorsey can't help himself but to turn around and run the football on 2nd and long, and then get themselves in 3rd and long situations. And I don't care how good you are. The Bills were very efficient on 3rd down last week. They were the most efficient team in the NFL last year in 3rd down. But you can't back yourself into 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, and expect to have consistent success in the NFL. And I think that's a big thing for me next week is sometimes the best defense is to have a clock possession, grind out, score touchdowns offense. If you can hold Miami to a couple field goals, I think between the 20s, you guys are going to have that. Like, everyone's going to have to be good with Miami getting their yards between the 20s. The question I have is, can the Bills tighten down when they get inside the red zone, hold them to a couple of field goals, and can the Bills score touchdowns when they're given the possession and not beat themselves? If they can, I think that's their recipe to victory, because I just don't think you're going to stop this Miami offense, consistently over 60, 70 plays. I think your best bet is they're going to get their yards, give them run looks. You're going to be okay if Devin Achane and Raheem Mostert beat you. But when you get into the red zone, you got to be able to tackle, wrap up, and try to hold them to some field goals, and maybe even a 4th down stop or two. And I think that's kind of your best recipe for success for the Bills.
Nate, I want to give credit to the Bills' defensive line. My gosh, we haven't seen a performance like that. 9 sacks yesterday, but that was also the modern day Drew Bledsoe just sitting back there, and I'm going to take the punishment. Howell didn't know what he was looking at. It's almost like they get the opposite this week in Tua. Do you feel comfortable just sending 4 here? Can you actually get the Tua the way he gets rid of the ball so quick?
I don't think so. But, yeah, I mean, holy cow. That performance and those back-to-back sacks from Leonard Floyd, particularly the second sack where he is in full speed as soon as that ball is snapped, dips below at full speed. I mean, what are you supposed to do with that? If he can pull a rep like that, 1 or 2 reps like that out, onto his blind side, by the way, that might be the only way you get to him, is if you have reps like that. And, yeah, Leonard Floyd has been a revelation. I can't believe that they got him for what they got him for after 3 consecutive seasons of 9+ sacks, or 8.5+ sacks. Like, he has just been a workhorse. 3.5 sacks in the first 3 games. Ed Oliver is playing some unbelievable football. He has 7 pressures yesterday. 7. The Bills' defensive line pressured Sam Howell on 69.2% of his dropbacks. 27 of 39 dropbacks he had pressure. And sacks are a quarterback's snack. So he holds on to the ball a long time. That's what the Bills knew about them coming into this game. Young quarterbacks tend to do that. Tua is the antithesis of that. He does not hold on to the football. He's going to get rid of it in under 3 seconds. The question I have is, can Leonard Floyd drop a couple of those things on third downs, dip underneath the right tackle and get Tua? That'll be something I'm looking forward to. But holy cow, that defensive line led by Ed Oliver, which is great to see, playing at maybe the best I've seen in the Brandon Beane era.
Nate, it was a fun afternoon yesterday. The Bills traveled well to Washington. They represented in force. Just paint a picture. How insane is Orchard Park going to be Sunday with everything that's on the line for this game and the way this team is playing right at this moment?
I think it's going to be a real special place to be. If you can get your hands on some tickets, I'd do so. I think it's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere. I know people are jacked up for this game. And good reason for it. I think this game, for a Week 4 game, has a lot of implications on what the division looks like for the rest of the way, and really what the AFC could look like for the rest of the way. I think Cincinnati's done. I think they're in real trouble. And if they lose tonight and they start 0-3, they're going to have a real tough way out of it, although that division is not as good as people were making it out to be. They remind me so much of the AFC West without a true Chiefs team in it from last year, right? The Raiders make all these moves, and the Denver Broncos trade for Wilson, and all of a sudden this is supposed to be a division everyone's scared of, and they had 1 playoff team, two. I mean, the Chargers make the playoffs. I think they made the playoffs. Yeah.
They did. Yeah.
But I look at that division in the North, and everyone's talking about, the Steelers. What a preseason! They're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And the Ravens, always what happens is they go through all these injuries. They can't keep anyone healthy ever. And Lamar has looked mediocre at best. And their pass catchers, Odell Beckham Jr. is down with injury. Bateman's down with injury. Dobbins is down with injury. And Ronnie Stanley didn't play last week. And then on the other side, no Marlon Humphrey. So it's just like, and the Browns, they've got a really good defense. But as long as Deshaun Watson doesn't throw up on himself, I guess they're good. But I look at the AFC at large. It's the Dolphins, it's the Chiefs, it's the Bills, and the Dolphins have simply swapped out for the Cincinnati Bengals because I think Joe Burrow is playing very hurt. And, this could have huge implications for the rest of the way. There's no doubt.
Nate, appreciate your time, my friend. It is always good to kind of pick your brain on this. Biggest regular season Bills-Dolphins game since?
A real long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, last December was big.
Ever. But yeah. Maybe ever.
Can't wait. Nate, appreciate the time, buddy. Let's catch up again soon.
My pleasure, guys.
Nate Geary. You'll hear him on the Buffalo Bills Radio Network. We have the call for you again coming up this Sunday. Kickoff just after 1 o'clock. Pregame gets underway at 9 a.m.
So, Mike Danger, pop quiz. Which player in the NFL, according to Fanatics, saw his NFL jersey sales increase by 400% in the last 48 hours?
Tua.
Nope.
Oh. Okay. Which quarterback? Let me think about
which
this.
NFL player?
Which NFL player? Achane.
Nope.
Damn.
You're on the wrong track here.
All right. Well, you do a bait and switch. I mean, we're talking about Bills and Dolphins, and now you're going to ask me this question out of the blue. Tell me.
Well, I'll give you a hint. It has nothing to do with football fans buying his jersey. The Swiftie universe is buying lots of Travis Kelce jerseys. 400%.
No.
It's a business arrangement. Can we just call it for what it is?
Damn her. We didn't even talk about this. For anybody that thought this was a ploy to get into the Super Bowl halftime, no, it'll be Usher. Kind of figured it was going to be somebody that, Jay-Z could pull out of his bag of tricks that wasn't going to be named Taylor Swift. She doesn't need the Super Bowl halftime show. She doesn't need Travis Kelce. Boy, the NFL eating it up. Just eating
the
it up.
machine. Like, yes, everybody putting this out.
And then afterwards, post-game, them walking out of the locker room together. Oh, my God. Does he know what he's in for? Does he know? He has no idea. He has no idea what he's in for. I think it's great news for the Buffalo Bills.
When do you want the breakup to happen? Like playoffs, right? January? After the holidays, right? Like,
look, if they're dating throughout the course of the season, the pressure, and if she's showing up to games, if Mahomes is recognizing, I feel like the pressure to get it to Travis because I know who's in attendance. Like, if it's going to be like this every time she shows up, then that's good news for the rest of the league. You don't need that distraction. You really don't. You could get away with it against the Bears. Yeah, good luck against good teams.
Where do they play this week? Oh, that's right. They play in New York against the Jets.
Oh, God.
She'll show up for that.
And the Jets will just roll over. That's going to be a blowout. Ugh. All right, let's appreciate Nate stopping by. Always great getting caught up with Nate Geary from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network. We've got happy hour on the way next in the sports bar. We've got a round of shots. We've got a double header for Monday Night Football to talk to. And you mentioned that Burrow's going to try and give it a go.
Well, yes, but no. That was the report earlier. And now Zach Taylor telling the media Goombas, well, we're going to be making that decision closer to game time.
God, I might just stay away from that game altogether tonight when I'm opening up my FanDuel account here and looking at what to play. You've got the Bucks, you've got the Eagles, you've got the Rams and the Bengals. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Mike Danger, join me on FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan, because right now, if you're a new customer, you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com/Mike if you want to put some wind in the sails. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the time. No better time to get in on the action. Monday Night Football doubleheader tonight. Come on. The app is easy to use with a wide range of betting options with spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Again, FanDuel.com/Mike to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for HD2 and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills at 2-1 on the season. Could things be any more comfortable as they were yesterday? 37-3 ended up being the final. A big day for linebacker Terrell Bernard.
Yeah, it was fun. That's the name of the game, man, making plays. So going out there and, doing everything that I could to help this team win, I had a great time.
Next up, the Dolphins, a Dolphin team that put up 70 points. The Bills a 2.5-point favorite in Buffalo this coming Sunday. 2 games on Monday Night Football tonight, 7:15 for Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. Meanwhile, in Cincinnati, Bengals head coach Zach Taylor not ready to announce who will be at quarterback. Joe Burrow thought he could give it a go tonight. We shall see. The Rams and Bengals at 8:15. Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams out for the season. He's got a torn ACL. Yankees win this afternoon 6-4 over Arizona. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome to a Buffalo Victory Football Monday.
I think this is the game that the Bills defense needed to have going into a game that they're going to have against the Dolphins.
Mike Danger.
I think they call that complementary football, right? The defense takes care of the offense takes care of the defense. Defense does their job.
My man, Terrell Bernard, linebacker, Baylor.
Gene Battaglia.
So next up, it's the Miami Dolphins.
You're playing for first place.
It was a record-setting day for the Dolphins. 70 points.
Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
You know what? I've met her before. Might set him up.
Usher will be headlining the Super Bowl halftime show.
Buy or sell, it should have been Taylor Swift.
Buy.
Tonight, the Bucs host the Eagles, 7:15 Eastern. The Bengals and Rams in Cincy at 8:15.
I hate having 2 games.
A wild weekend around football, both college and the pros.
We're proud to be from Ohio. It's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world.
Here come the Buffalo Sabres!
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right. I'm seeing your comments. Every time we bring up Taylor Swift and she's showing up in the press box, as the Bears are getting absolutely run at Arrowhead. Phil tweeting me directly at AKA Mike Danger. New T Swift single, You Can Catch a Pass, but You Can Catch My Heart. Yeah, Phil, the one that I saw, I can't remember who, I'm going to try to give credit. I know it was, I got tagged in something. Somebody wrote a lyric. He gave me a field pass. I misread the coverage like a field's pass. Oh, all of this is just bad.
That was the worst of your two worlds colliding. Your Bears, who are a joke.
I can't enjoy anything
I
anymore.
thought, I tried to warn you, but I didn't think it would be this bad. You didn't think it would be this bad. That quarterback is shot.
He's
that
terrible.
team is shot. And that game was over. That was the easiest surviving advance we've ever had on the show.
We didn't really hype it up at all. I mean, we were talking about it this time last week. We knew what the pick was. We were comfortable with the pick. We didn't even hide it. We're like, all right. Like right now, we still have to think about what tomorrow is going to look like for Survive and Advance.
Yeah, but a lot of people overthought it. Hey, let's go with Baltimore at home. No. Let's go with Dallas on the road. No. We're still alive, Andrew. We had the week 4.
Enter into week 4. Hope you're still alive. Hope you're enjoying your football Monday, a victory Monday. You've still got more NFL action tonight with a doubleheader as you have the Eagles and the Bucs. You have the Rams and the Bengals. We appreciate you making us part of your routine, even if it's just for 5 minutes on your ride home. We appreciate you listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950. We sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app, AUDACY. You can get us wherever you get your shows. When you search out the Sports Bar, you're on your smart device. Just ask it to play 95.7 The Fan, or even streaming on YouTube and Twitch at The Fan Rochester. So many ways for you to enjoy the Sports Bar. We appreciate you carving out some of your time and making us a part of your routine.
One thing I know Terrell Bernard has that Tremaine Edmonds did not is instincts. That play where he just drops back, hey, I know the ball's going to go, let me give this a shot, and he climbs the ladder and he gets the pick the way he did. I would contend you saw more in 3 games here from Terrell Bernard than the entire splash play list of Tremaine Edmonds his time in Buffalo. And I want to know, Did Sean McDermott actually know this was the plan all along? We were at training camp when we saw this competition because we didn't see it? Or was it just kind of a slow play here that I'm going to unleash this kid when we get to the regular season?
Different, right? He's not your prototypical looking middle linebacker because he doesn't have that kind of size. But when you're talking about a Sean McDermott defense, and this is now truly a Sean McDermott defense, there is no Buffer, there is no Leslie Frazier. Sean McDermott's going to want to do with this defense what he had in Carolina, the success that he had in Carolina. He had great corners, and he had really good linebackers. He had a tandem of Kuechly and Thomas Davis, and the two of them played well off of each other. And, man, it sure seems like you have that now with Milano and now Bernard. And the defensive line has been outstanding the last 2 weeks as well. You haven't needed to blitz because you're getting pressure with your front four. Josh Allen even noticing the play of A.J. Epineza getting a pick 6 yesterday. Terrell Bernard getting another interception.
A.J. is notorious for doing that in practice. He's tall and lanky, and he just finds a way to make plays like that. And, you know, he's done that to us in practice so many different times. So it was good to see him go out there and do it in a game and then go finish in the end zone and celebrate with his teammates. But again, like that, our guys work so hard. Obviously in TB, he's so young. Obviously it's his second year here, and he's been asked to do a lot, you know, starting middle linebacker. But he's been answering the bell, and it's been fun to watch. And you know, he's only going to continue to get better.
Think that, like we were also saying, A.J. Epineza, is he going to make the look, he's going to cash in next year. That one play alone, somebody's going to say, you know what, he'd help our defensive line here.
Yeah,
good for him. You made a lot of money on that play, AJ.
Yeah, and you know it because you see it around the league. You see guys that weren't able to cut it here, and they go on to another team, and they don't. We all like Harrison Phillips. Harrison Phillips is a problem for Minnesota on the defensive line. He's starting, and he's not very good. You know, like there are other teams that will take the guys that can't cut it on the Bills' defense. Tremaine Edmonds in Chicago looks very much like the Tremaine Edmonds you had in Buffalo. He's not. He doesn't look like he's in the right spot all the time. He over-pursues. His instincts are garbage.
Well, that fan base that knows middle linebacker play from Buckus to Singletary to Urlacher to how much is it already over for Emmons in Chicago?
I mean, Chicago is just such an unmitigated disaster. I don't know where you even begin. The defense is a mess. You don't have any leadership. The defensive coordinator is, you know, allegedly getting raided. You have no idea what's going on. So, but you have what you have now with the Bills. And as you look ahead here to Sunday, if there's one thing that has me concerned with the Bills defense, it is the age. It's
no, be specific. It's Poyer and Hyde. It's those two guys, right?
Well, I like what Nate said, that we haven't seen Kyer Elam at all yet this year. But maybe you dust him off for this upcoming matchup. That makes a lot of sense to me. A guy who is better at press, at man, who can keep up with, at least do his best to keep up with this speed. Benford isn't going to be as speedy as a Waddle or a Hill. I actually think that makes a lot of sense. Not that you wouldn't keep Benford active. I think you would.
Maybe Dane Jackson, who I think Dane Jackson is a tackler and in run support, he's very good, but really you need guys just to flat out run. And maybe you're playing a little, maybe you can kind of deviate from the Tampa 2 and like actually play Elam where he's most comfortable. But what I looked yesterday wasn't, you know, Waddle wasn't even there. It wasn't Hill running down the field.
It's a run game.
When have you ever seen anything like that? Like, honestly, and I'd have to go back and watch it.
300 rushing yards and 300 passing yards in the same game.
700 yards of offense. Shame on you, Sean Payton. Shame on you, Denver. Like, okay, it's not working. Change it up a little bit. They just got tired in the heat, and they laid right down. Interesting note here, Danger, because everybody loves offense. I always love when lines move here. Money's coming in on Miami for this game. 59% of the early bets here going on the Dolphins. That's probably not a surprise. That has moved the line from 3.5 by Buffalo now to 2.5, which that would mean if this was on a neutral site that actually Miami would be the favorite in this game.
Mm-hmm. Well, they are undefeated. They are in first place. The game is for first place, and the Bills, do have that blemish. And that blemish is the thing that gives me a little bit of pause going in, because we've seen bad Josh this year and we have yet to see bad Tua this year. I give Mike McDaniel credit in that he knows, being a disciple of Kyle Shanahan, he knows how to put emphasis on a player's strengths and de-emphasize their weaknesses. And with Tua, there are weaknesses. Not great throwing the ball downfield. Can't make multiple reads. Doesn't have that kind of time. So you get the ball out of his hand quickly, and you allow your playmakers to make plays. And the Bills will be challenged defensively. It'll be a good challenge. You got to imagine that they're up for it. They know what's at stake, and they're going to have the support of the entire stadium behind them. It's going to be a lot of fun. This week is going to be, well, I think if you were worried about whether or not this was a rivalry that would be renewed, it's back. It's on. It's on now. It's fully on.
Correct. And for everybody in Miami, it's, all right, is this team for real? Until we go up there and beat Buffalo. This is the benchmark game. Remember, Mike McDaniel, I want it colder, whatever he wore that T-shirt last year. And we thought that the Bills would roll Miami in the playoffs. They didn't. That was Skylar Thompson somehow keeping the game close. That wasn't even Tua last year.
You won't have elements really at play.
Have you seen snow before?
Yeah, it snowed in Alabama my first year. So it snows in Alabama, guys. I know. I mean, people don't know that. There's some people that just think, it just gets cold in Alabama. It does snow.
That's Shecky Tungavailoa, Tua's twin brother.
Wow.
Shecky, yeah, he's up there on stage. For his next act, he brings out a watermelon and a sledgehammer. He makes the entire press corps laugh and covered in fruit.
That guy actually passed.
I know.
Yeah, that's kind of sad.
Thanks, Gene. Thanks for bringing. No, the Tua's looked good this year. I think mostly because of what Mike McDaniel has drawn up for Tua. He's not asking him to do more than what he's capable of doing.
Right. Just like, okay, there it is. And when we talk to Nate, it's almost like some of these schemes, it's like the CFL. It seems like they're running to the line of scrimmage the way they did this whole.
They get a head start.
Yeah, it's crazy how they're getting off the line here. And this is the thing from yesterday. It was great. How many sacks did the Bills have yesterday, Daniel?
Oh, yeah, I promise. We take requests here in the sports bar. Don't worry, because when we found out, when we saw the stat line and people were blowing me up, just tell me how many times they got sacked. How many times did they get to Sam Howell?
9 times.
That's right.
9 times.
I'm going to wear this thing out into submission all week long.
9 times.
Yeah, Sam Howell is a statue. The poor
9 times.
The poor kid was like Drew Bledsoe in his worst days in Buffalo, where I'm going to stand there and wait for my guy to get open. Oh, no, I'm sacked.
9 times.
You're going now the complete 180, where the ball is going to be out that quick. So, Danger, my question is, and granted, we saw Leonard Floyd one time come right off the edge, like, okay, he'd get to Tua, he would get to anybody else. But what we're seeing out of the Bills' defensive line, is this defensive line good enough to get to Tua Tagovailoa this week?
I think so. I mean, Lloyd with 2 sacks yesterday. He had 3 hurries on the game. You're getting that push up front. Ed Oliver's playing the best football of his career right now, which is something we were waiting to see. And it's refreshing to see it, actually. And I think that offensive line better this year, but still something you can get over on. They mask that deficiency by getting the ball out quick, or by letting them run block and let your speedy running backs do what they do. And they've got a lot of speed on that offense. That makes me nervous for the Bills and their secondary. I think Milano and Bernard will be able to hang, and it all starts up front with what kind of push you can get with your defensive line.
Have we had a Monday like this where we have just kind of moved on from what we saw yesterday and said, okay, that's what you're supposed to do. Bring me now the main course here.
I'll admit when I'm wrong. I thought Washington would put up more of a fight. I really did. Like, maybe I'm guilty of buying into their early 2-0 start and the way they won those games and how Sam Howell looked and how Eric Bieniemy has gotten more out of that offense. But, man.
I thought they would scheme something up to go after one corner, and then we were kind of like, what about Tre'Davious White? Tre'Davious White yesterday looked just fine. Had the big interception down at the goal line, too.
He really did. And he listens to the sports bar. He heard us talking about
That's
him.
what
So
it was, yeah.
he decided to show up on a game day to get himself an interception. And again, if you want to build confidence, if you're Trey White and you don't feel 100% like yourself, you have a game like that, you'll start feeling like yourself again real soon. So that was it was surprising to me how little fight Washington put out there. My brother-in-law is a Commanders fan, and he texted me last night. He's like, brother, I think our two teams might be the two worst in the league. And I'm like, you've won a couple of games. I don't know what the Bears are. So, yeah, they Washington, for what it's worth, did not look good. They did not look like a 2-0 team yesterday against the Bills. And that was the thing that was probably most surprising to me, was that they didn't put up more of a fight. I thought they would be able to move the ball against this defense. Turns out this Bills defense might be legit.
Yeah, so now you get a team that put up 70 against the Bills defense, 70 points. I didn't even know that was even possible. And I think one of the stories I found amusing was you put up 70 points, and yet they were getting booed at the end.
Yeah, they wanted more.
They had a chance to kick a field goal at the end to set the record at 73. Instead, they just took the knee at the end.
So did you see this? And I think this is worth noting as well as we get ready for Dolphins week here. The Dolphins players account for the 6 fastest recorded speeds by a ball carrier on plays this season. Tyreek Hill and Devin Achane. Devin Achane yesterday, 22.07 miles per hour for Hill, 21.93 miles per hour for Achane, and followed by Hill's 47-yard catch week 1. You had Raheem Mostert's 43-yard touchdown week 2, which was 21.62 miles an hour, and then Hill's 35-yard touchdown week 1 at 21.52 miles an hour. Another Achane run yesterday at 21.5 miles per hour. So they have the 6 fastest plays in terms of recorded speed by a ball carrier on the season.
Yeah. I mean, it's remarkable. And you know what? Good for Miami and good for everything else. And I think the Bills defense will certainly be schemed up not to give them everything in that department. When I look at this game, can I make it just this simple? If I took all 4 units, meaning Bills offense, Bills defense, Miami offense, Miami defense, it's the last one. For Buffalo, what we've seen out of this offense. Now, look, Josh threw, an interception yesterday. Who cares in that game? But if the Bills are smart with the football, if they control the game with the football, heck, it's a team, Danger, that when we last saw them at home, they had a 9-minute drive to start the second half. That's how you win this game. It's literally in the hands of Josh Allen. If Josh Allen and the Bills offense can just go down the field, and it doesn't have to be fancy. That's the thing. It's like, okay, the pass to Davis, that was a lot of fun yesterday, but you've now put up 30-plus points in 2 games, and has it been anything flashy or spectacular? No, it's just been kind of going to work. So can you do that once again against the Miami defense that, okay, they have Wilkins, they have some other players there, but I think you can take advantage of that.
We'll be talking to Bills and Dolphins insiders throughout the course of the week, getting you ready for the game on Sunday, a game you'll be able to hear on the Fan Rochester with our pregame Sunday morning, 9 a.m., 1 o'clock for kickoff. Matt Perino, as he does every Tuesday from the Syracuse Post-Standard, will be joining us tomorrow afternoon at 3:25. Armando Salguero from Outkick. We'll talk some Dolphins with Armando and talk some NFL with Armando Wednesday afternoon at 4:25.
Have you seen this yet? It's a meme of a meme. Now we're going into a different meme. So we've all seen the meme, right, where it's just the guy walking with his girlfriend, and the girl with the red dress walks by, and the guy turns, and his girlfriend's like, "What are you doing looking at that girl?" Well, somebody has taken that guy, and instead of the girlfriend, it's Prime, Coach Prime, and the girl in the red dress, it's actually in red, it's Taylor Swift, and this is now what NFL media is. So
nobody is looking at Coach Prime anymore.
Yeah.
They're all looking at Taylor Swift. Well, just for a second on Coach Prime, I mean, look, I think we and I think he probably even would be the first.
We knew this was coming.
We knew that this was coming. We love the story. I think the story is still a relevant one, and maybe they don't get whooped the way they did against Oregon when they play USC this weekend. But at the beginning of the season, Coach Prime was saying, hey, we're probably still a handful of players away from this being really special. We need another 7-8 guys that when we get them, we're going to be tough to beat. But right now, all you can do if you're Deion Sanders is eat your humble pie and just say, yeah, that was a good old-fashioned butt whipping, which is what he did. I still can't get over Bo Nix.
Wait, this Bo Nix, this is a fact, what you were telling me?
He's got to be like 33 years old. Bo Nix, Oregon quarterback, Bo Nix played against Justin Herbert when he was at Oregon. You might even remember this game. It was Auburn, Oregon. It was early in the season. It might have been a week 0 or a week 1 matchup. Herbert's been in the NFL for 4 years. And Nix is still tooling around in college football? What is he, Chris Winkie version 2.0? What are we doing?
Well, maybe we'll get to a point where like, oh, you want to stay another year? Great. Yep, we'll kind of like you could stay 7-8 years. Who knows when we get to that point?
I couldn't believe, like, when that crossed my feed, I'm like, I remember that game. And it was Bo Nix starting for Auburn. I mean, now my mind is reeling. It races, and I think to myself, wait, was Bo Nix the starting quarterback for Auburn after Cam Newton left? Because I don't know how far back this goes anymore with Bo Nix. He's been in college football just a little too long for my liking. Let's get out of here. It's time. It's time to graduate. It's time to move on. Yeah, Bo Nix and Oregon look good against Colorado, and it's still a good story. But yeah, you're right, Gino. That meme is funny because it's true. Today, all anybody wants to talk about is Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Where Travis Kelce's jersey sales went up 400% here in a day. Thanks to the Swifties.
All the Swifties. And they'll be burning them the day that it goes bad, and it will go bad. The day that she releases a song about it, they'll all burn the Travis Kelce jersey. They'll just get rid of it.
Wait a second. You mean this isn't going to end with them living happily ever after and children and everything else?
I mean, I guess we're seeing Taylor Swift hanging out with Travis's mom in the luxury box. So maybe I'm underestimating the strength of their bond and their relationship.
Dude, you didn't meet your future mother-in-law for what, 6 months to a year?
Oh, it was over a year.
It was over a year.
Well, that's not true. I met her.
But it was under the pretense of...
It was in passing, yes. And didn't really do the family hangout thing until at least a year. Because, old school Italian family, don't waste our time. Do you really know what you're getting yourself into here? It worked out. But yeah, with Taylor and Travis, good luck. I just view her as Thanos at this point. She could just snap her fingers and make everything disappear. That's the power that she is wielding at this point in her life and her career. So tread very lightly, Travis. That snicker that you saw with him walking out of the locker room with her, that snicker, you best turn that snicker into a smile, buddy, quickly. You're very happy that she's down there in the locker room. You're very happy that you're being escorted by Taylor Swift on the way out of the stadium.
It may not seem like a big thing, but the fact that Mahomes admitted, hey, the girl's up there in the box, I got to make sure I get the ball to him for a touchdown. I'm like, yes, start thinking differently. Yes, absolutely.
That's great news. And plus the weak knees. We know there'll be some weak knees down the road here for the Kelces.
Actually, you're looking at all this wrong. Travis, how many rings? 2? Be happy, dude. Just you have your ability to walk away on
being
this game.
Mr. Taylor Swift is a full-time job.
You have your podcast. Mm-hmm. You have everything else. Just soft pedal it here and retire after this year.
Yeah.
You're already a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Yeah, just move on.
Sure. Well, good for them. Thanks to everybody who sent me text messages yesterday as the Bears were getting just absolutely annihilated. And then on top of it, the hell that is my life. There's Taylor Swift.
You didn't respond to my text.
This is my cross to bear as a Bear fan.
The Bears wear black and not navy.
See, I didn't respond because I know you're trolling me. I know. I know you're trolling me because we have the conversation about the difference between gold and yellow. Like if your team says that they're black and gold when they're actually black and yellow, you're not fooling anybody. The Saints are gold. Notre Dame, that's gold. Green Bay, yellow. Green and yellow. Right? Easy. We know our colors. I said to you the Bears are a dark navy blue, and you said, no, that's black. Like, that's not black. It's a dark navy blue. It's dark. It's really dark. It's not black. Cincinnati is black. That's black. And by the way, Cincinnati tonight, if I may, I mean, we might not know who the quarterback is going to be.
Oh, yeah.
But we know they're going to be wearing the zebra stripes tonight.
The all whites.
The all whites tonight. I mean, that's worth checking out. Just a little hot uniform talk for you there as a little morsel before a Monday Night Football doubleheader.
You know, they might have won the Super Bowl had they actually cracked those out.
Yeah, really. What are you guys thinking? You got to go with the all whites. Such a good look. Anyways, it's a dark navy. It's not black, Gene. You were trolling me. I know you're trolling. I know your game, pal. I know your game. Terrible game for the Bears. Just so bad. So angry. I can't do it anymore. Let's get to a round of shots next in the sports bar.
Yeah, so college football was interesting. The Orange are 4-0, and what do we think of them? We'll get into that. Your latest here on that. We're in the final week of the baseball season, so we'll set you up for that. Hey, the Sabres played yesterday, and they play tomorrow night. Hard to wrap my mind around that. It is actually hockey season. Those stories and more where we've got coming up.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country.
Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills throttle Washington. 37-3 ended up being the final. But now a much tougher opponent. Quarterback Josh Allen certainly aware of the Miami Dolphins, what they did.
We don't see the other side of the ball, and we don't focus on that. We'll watch our film, figure out what we have to fix, and try to develop a game plan to go against their defense, and trust our defense to go out there and play their game.
We still have 2 games left here in Week 3. Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. That's a 7:15 kickoff tonight. And as far as the LA Rams in Cincinnati, we still don't know the status of Joe Burrow. Head coach Zach Taylor of the Bengals making that a game-time decision. Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams is out for the season. He has a torn ACL. Yankees win 6-4 over Arizona today. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Well, I think the defensive line really set the tone for us up front. They did a great job impacting the inside of the pocket there in particular. We just saw some things that we felt like there'd be some opportunities for us, and they took advantage of those opportunities.
Post-game, Sean McDermott talking about his defensive line who had themselves a day yesterday in Washington. Time for a round of shots in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Yeah, the AP poll doesn't mean anything anymore. We'll still get to the rankings later on in October, but for what it's worth, Colorado is out of the top 25 after their blowout loss to Oregon. For the first time since 2016, we had 6 different schools received number 1 votes. Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Ohio State is now 4th. Florida State, they drop a spot. They needed overtime to take out Clemson. Penn State is 6th. Washington got a first place vote. They're 7th. Notre Dame, see, they had only 10 players on the field at the end of the game. That's not good. Yeah, the Irish dropping to 11th. And this week, not easy. They traveled to number 17, Duke.
Yeah, Duke all of a sudden is decent at football. Penn State taking care of Iowa at home. I did like that finish to the Notre Dame Ohio State game. I mean, I had a little skin in the game, so the way it ended was profitable for me. But to see, like the guts to make that call when they made that call, I loved it. I just loved the ending.
Well, Mike Freeman's excuse, he's a liar, the Notre Dame head coach. He's a liar. He's incompetent. So the question came. He knew there were 10 players on the field. There was a player that wanted to go in the last second, but he held them back for fear that he wouldn't get in position in time and therefore offside penalty. What Mike Freeman said was, well, we didn't want to, take the penalty. You're on the 1 yard line. Who cares,
What are you
dude?
taking?
Yeah, what are you taking?
6 inches up?
Yeah, you should have been like, hey, let's stop. At least that gives us a fighting chance here.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, gutsy call. Big win for the Buckeyes. I mean, the way the Big Ten is shaping up now, it looks like a 3-horse race. Michigan, Ohio State, which you would expect. And Penn State, I think, they're going to give an effort here. It's going to be an interesting stretch run here in the Big Ten.
In the also receiving votes category, the Syracuse Orange, who are now at 4-0, but it was not pretty. Syracuse down by 7 in the first half to Army at home. They end up winning by 13. The Orange now get some primetime exposure. Not literally primetime, but they're going to be a standalone game this week at home to Clemson. That's a noon kickoff on ABC.
We all remember, the early infancy of the Sports Bar.
They didn't look into your heart. They didn't look into your heart. They didn't look into my heart. Sir, because they came to whose house? Whose house? Whose house? Whose house?
Remember we had Coach Babers on with us like the following season, and we played that sound for him.
It was pretty surreal. I remember him saying, Mike Danger, tell me the story why you're Mike Danger.
But Dino Babers, I didn't get the impression that he was necessarily proud of that moment, the moment where they beat Clemson and he, had that post-game speech and you wanted to run through a wall for the guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. I almost feel like he said something like, not my proudest moment or something like that. But it's like, coach, own that. I mean, that's big. And if you could beat Clemson at home, in the infancy of him taking over that program. That was impressive, and we'll look for them to be impressive again against a Clemson team that's vulnerable this year.
One note to know from this game, where if you watch this, kind of a scary moment, where Dre Miller, a defensive lineman for Army, had to be stabilized, carted off the field. It looked really serious. He's back at Army. He's going to be okay.
Good.
So that's certainly good news. So Syracuse-Clemson, that's going to be a noon kickoff coming up on Saturday. It is official in New York City. The Yankees eliminated. But the biggest story from the weekend perhaps was the Texas Rangers sweep of Seattle, putting the Mariners on the ropes and putting Rangers in a great spot here. They lead the AL West now by 2.5 games as we're in the final week. Houston, they're up on. The Rays seem pretty locked up for that first wild card. The Jays now have a 2-game lead for the second position. Houston, a half-game lead over Seattle for the final position. And the National Wild Card lead looks like this. Phillies are going to be the top spot. Arizona lost at home today to the Yankees, so right now they're tied with the Cubs. 1 game out is Miami. 2 games out, Cincinnati. The Reds, at home to the Pirates, they were up 9-0.
9 times.
They lost. You don't deserve to be a playoff team if you lose to the Pirates, especially up 9-0.
I agree with that. The Cubs have me gripping a little bit. The way they played or the way they've been playing, they lost to the Pirates.
But you got Stroman back. You can kind of sneak in, and then if the way it lines up, dude, you might end up with the Brewers. Ooh, you should be okay.
Well, we'll be checking that out for sure.
Hey, did anybody notice the Sabres were in action yesterday, right while the Bills were playing? You don't have to feel bad. We're watching football. 4-3, the Sabres get the win in Washington. First-round pick, Zach Benson. Now, it's likely he's going to go back to juniors. He can't go to the Amerks. I don't think they're going to keep him, but he scored. J.J. Paterka, Peyton Krebs also scoring. The shootout clincher coming from Rochester American Brandon Byron.
Nice.
Of course, he's hoping to get stick with the team. Eric Comrie and Dustin Tokarski. Remember, Tokarski's back. They split time in net. Amerks head coach Seth Appert behind the bench, helping out Don Granado. Tomorrow night, the Sabres host the Bruins.
Very good.
Once every 2 years, the Ryder Cup happens, and that will be this coming week. Marco Simone Golf and Country Club is the site just out of the side of Rome, Italy. The European team will look different this year. Sergio Garcia, Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood. They played a combined 28 Ryder Cups, but because they're part of LIV and because they resigned from the DP World Tour, they are ineligible to play for Europe. The Ryder Cup will begin on Friday.
And the same can be said for the American players, correct? Or the American players,
no,
it doesn't matter. Brooks
matter.
Koepka and all them, they're all in.
They're
So,
fine.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about the Ryder Cup. Maybe it's because it's on foreign soil this year or this time around.
It's also football season.
Yeah,
it's
maybe
funny
that's
how
what it
our
is.
mind works. I mean, I'm going to try to talk a little bit of Ryder Cup. It's the same thing with hockey. I want to learn more about the Sabres and the Amerks, but we only have so much bandwidth here.
Yeah, I'm with you. In the spring, in the summer, when you've got majors, we'll talk golf in the sports bar because there's not as much going on. And my head is spinning from all of the action this weekend. Football action, just football.
Finally, how quickly things change in the NFL. That's why we love it, right? Like, dude, it's 2 weeks ago today. We're toasting the Jets. Wow, what a gutty win over the Bills. Wow. Fast forward to now, where you had a fan so upset with the Jets yesterday, he's yelling at him, or whoever it was on the Jets sideline, and his teeth came flying out.
I saw the clip of that. Poor guy. Of all the guys you're going to isolate, the guy's yelling and his teeth go flying out.
That's a kind of a meme for a Jet fan. I'm sorry, Jet fan. Also, there's this, and this has really some Zapruder action right now online going. Sauce Gardner said he got punched in the privates intentionally by quarterback Matt Jones. He's turned in the video that Jets have to the front office, adding insult to injury.
Well, I guess if you're in a pileup, all bets are off, right? Like you always hear the stories. You don't want to be at the bottom of a pile. Because, like a fumble, if you're trying to recover it, there's a pileup. Whatever happens. Nobody's going to say anything. Nobody's going to do anything. Bad news. I didn't see this video, so I don't know exactly when this happened.
Hard to say, unless there's like another angle that shows. But the thing with Mac Jones, there's other clips of him being dirty, kicking players and tripping players. He's a dirtball.
Yeah, you could tell he doesn't have it. And because he doesn't have it, who's the NBA player or the player that used to play for Duke that's in the NBA now? That was
Leitner?
No, Grayson.
Grayson. Yes. What was that? Yeah, he was dirty.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
Just a dirty player. And just every time you saw him, you're like, oh, he's the worst. He's in the NBA now too. I want to say Grayson, not Chance. It's gonna drive me nuts. It hurts the brain, Gino. But he's in the NBA now, and it's like you're just one of those players that you
Grayson Allen.
Grayson Allen, that's the one. You do well at the collegiate level, and then you get to the pros, and you realize, oh my God, I really don't have all that it takes. So I'm going to have to continue to lean in on just being cheap.
Well, it's like, not that Josh Allen's cheap, but Josh Allen has that disconnect where, like, hey, Josh, like you can't take these chances. I know.
How and then great was it to see him slide yesterday? He slid. Gino. He slid. Everybody was like, he slid. Good that Josh Allen slid.
There's a few people on this team that owe me some money for sliding, so just a little bit of incentive there,
Ooh,
little
side bet there.
Now we understand.
Wait a second. Is this like this sounds like Bonding Gate, but in a good way?
Do you get incentive if you're Josh Allen? You get incentive for every slide. Do you get penalized financially for every turnover? Because if that's the key to his heart, if that's the thing, the motivating factor, let's continue with that. Let's see him slide more and turn the ball over less.
How fun was that, though, to see him walk into the end zone, practically do the little finger roll like he's laying it up, and then go over to the Washington fans and kind of give him fake high fives.
Yeah. Hey, Bills fans showed up, man. That the stadium, FedEx Field, looked full of Bills fans. I mean, there's some burgundy in the stands, but man, there was a lot of blue, a lot of red, white, and blue in the stands.
But I thought it was going to be a little more Washington, especially that he brought back every alum.
It's a little jarring. Like, it really is now that there isn't really, for a lot of these teams, there is no such thing as a home field advantage. The Chargers don't have it. The Rams don't have it. The Raiders certainly don't have it.
If the Bills ever got bad again, like I've been to games where the Steelers come in and it's like, oh my gosh, there's more Steeler fans than Bills fans here.
Yeah.
We've all kind of experienced that. So it all depends. Like, the Bills fan base travels well because this is a fun time. We are like living in a golden age of Buffalo Bills football. We don't even realize it right now.
Yeah. I'm a little jealous because you're living in a golden age of Buffalo Bills football. I'm living the worst era of Chicago Bears football in my lifetime.
The golden shower phase.
Thank you, Gene. All right, we're going to take a break. Come back. It's time for last call. You can join us at 866-4FAN, the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, the new location, 135 West Commercial Street in ER, goodsmokebbq.com. We'll take your calls next, and we'll set you up for tomorrow afternoon in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
Battaglia on the sports leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Sean dialed up a good play, awesome play. Back came out quick. I thought I had him covered, and so quarterback threw it. I'm mad I didn't stay on my feet. To me, I feel like that should have been a pick six, but it's awesome to get a takeaway and give the ball to the offense with good field position before half. But I gotta finish that one.
There's Bill's safety, Micah Hyde. Everybody celebrating after a comfortable win in Washington. Everybody getting a piece on that defense as well, including Micah Hyde getting his first interception, like 2 seasons? Something like that?
It's, is there anything negative to say at all yesterday? Maybe 4th and 1, just have Josh run the ball, nothing tricky.
Do the little tush push, the play that you can do now where you just get a guy behind the quarterback and push him over the line. That would have worked, for sure. But hard to find a lot to complain about. Maybe things are different this time next week, but we have Miami to look forward to, and we've got a great show to tell you about for tomorrow afternoon as well. First, it's last call at 866-4326, 866-4FAN.
Linda in Webster. Hi, Linda. How are you today?
Oh, fine. I'm passing out props. I'm passing out props to Terrell Bernard. I'm passing out props to Trey White. I'm so glad he got an interception. Passing out props to the offensive line for all of the hullabaloo that people were making about the Washington defense. We neutralized them. And also passing out props to the Yacht Club. Woo!
Oh,
this
is regular on regular props. So Linda's one of the regulars of the sports bar.
Fine now, regular Yacht Club.
Captain Obvious.
Yes,
Yacht Rock John.
I was singing. Yep, I was singing along with all the words. It was great. And one thing, when you have Jay Binkley on again, you so have to give him the business with Taylor Swift. You have to learn lyrics to every Taylor Swift song you can and just work them into the conversation mercilessly.
Oh, Linda, he'll love that. He'll eat it up.
Yeah,
be like, see, we're the team that Taylor Swift chose us, and he will love that. It will not need a lot.
Matthew just tweeted at me at AKA Mike Danger at the Fan Rochester. Have we come up with a combo name like Benifer, like we had for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce? Because his suggestion is Trailer Swift. It's not bad. Trailer Swift isn't bad.
Linda,
Thanks,
thank
Linda.
you. Tomorrow on the show, we will be talking to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post Standard. We'll also be talking to Michael F. Florio, NFL Network
Fantasy Football
Talk. If I can have the last minute here, Danger.
You got it, bud.
Okay, thanks. This is tough. It was, 2006, 2007. I'm working in a different media company, and a lot of media companies have happy hours, and they do fun things. And we were having a good time one night, and I come into work the next day, and I get confronted by one of my coworkers, Sherry Mitchell. Sherry, if you knew her, she was just very straightforward, honest, hardworking. And she confronted me. She said, "Hey, I heard you called me a huggy drunk." And I could not deny that I called her a huggy drunk. She's like, "You know what? Okay, fine. You will never get another hug from me ever." And it became this running joke between Sherry and I until one day where the company I was working for had layoffs, and you want to talk about a walk of shame? I'm doing the walk of shame. I've got my box of stuff. Well, she came over and gave me a hug. And in this town of Rochester, it's so tight. It's so close. When, we'd end up working together again at this great company, Entercom, now Odyssey. And the first day she comes in, I'm like, "Hey, welcome aboard." She's like, "Nope, back to the old rules. You're not getting any hug." Nothing like that. As our sales assistant, you grow really tight in our business, working with people like this. And it was last summer that Sherry learned of her cancer diagnosis. And we did a nice thing for her in the office where she wanted some deck furniture for her outdoor deck and gave it to her. And she came up and gave me a nice big hug. And I'm like, "Sherry, you're going to beat this thing we thought she had to beat." And then she didn't. And so it was last Wednesday that I went up to Highland, up to their hospice wing. And I'm spending some time with her. And it's 2:30. And she says to me, "Gene, you got to get out of here. Your show's going on." I'm like, "Sherry, I know. And I'll be back next week." I'm not going to go back. Sherry, on behalf of everybody here at Odyssey, we love you. Show's dedicated to you.
Appreciate that, Gino. She was a great lady. Really, really unbelievable. And just a big loss for our organization, a big loss for our community. We'll miss you, Sherry. All right, tomorrow on the show, Matt Perino, 3:25. Talk some Bills, Dolphins from the Syracuse Post-Standard. Football with fantasy football with Michael F. Florio from NFL Network at 4:25. Back tomorrow starting at 3 o'clock in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Zach Gelb Show on the way next on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Tap into your inner ego.